6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning to you all. Friday. You made it.
Oh, finally. There was a moment this week, I'm sure.
February 23rd.
Here's Lucas like mine. They're coming like, I'm not going to make this. We all made it. Congratulations.
I know. So much to cover on the news. I've got the CPAC live feed up. They haven't started their speeches yet as all those vice presidential wannabes are making their best pitches this week in CPAC.
It's an audition
Trump,
in many ways.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Trump, national religious broadcasters didn't take the stage till, like 11:30 last night or something. So all those religious broadcasters that are used to going to bed at 9 like I am, we're staying up late in Nashville. We're going to cover some of these restaurants closing in downtown Denver. The Teamsters, giving some donations to Donald Trump, or some things changing there.
Yeah, that's interesting. But the odd one is there wasn't the full-throated endorsement.
Right.
And that I
sure
thought was interesting as well. Yeah. And I'd be watching to see if they also throw money towards Biden, because oftentimes they play both sides.
Well, yeah, that's the best way to play it.
It is. Especially, if you want to do it to both sides, and then you're fine. Yeah.
You're going to win no matter what.
Exactly.
And then we'll have a few interviews, but Steffan Tubbs joining us in the 9 o'clock hour on his new movie, Devastated. So you're not going to want to miss that. Let's get to Blake Olson with the news. Good morning, Blake.
All righty, Jeff and Bill. 29 and clear skies in Denver, in for another gorgeous day today with highs in the 50s.
And Blake, you just froze on us for a second? We checked it just like 5 minutes ago.
That's always the opening segment.
I don't know. Well, we just got to have to plan for this. All righty, back to you, sir.
All right. Well, Blake will be back with us in just a second here. I saw this in. Do we have Blake now?
Hey, Blake.
Yep.
Are you there?
There you go.
Yeah, sorry.
We tested it, Blake.
We just
like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
That's
it was
ridiculous.
crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's always at 6:05.
Yeah, it is.
Or
and it's
6:03.
Yeah. Back in the day, we would say we were just kidding, J. Edgar, but it can't be that. So.
Maybe we. Yeah,
Gremlins.
We'll figure it out. It is the Gremlins. Okay, I'll continue here. Sad story: 3 members of the University of Wyoming swim team are dead following a single vehicle crash in Larimer County. It happened on Highway 287 near Livermore, and the Colorado State Patrol says the victims were an 18-year-old woman, 2 men aged 21 and 22. Investigators say the Toyota RAV4 transporting the students went across both lanes of the highway and rolled down an embankment. 2 other people in the vehicle were injured. Jefferson County deputies trying to identify a suspect who committed an armed robbery on the at the Exxon gas station in Golden on US 40, where deputies say a man walked in, asked for cigarettes, pulled a gun on the clerk. Anyone with information should contact the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Colorado Springs Mayor Yemi Mobilati is addressing illegal immigration concerns. On Thursday, he insisted the city is not facing a crisis.
I'm using the word crisis because in the last 3 weeks, that's a narrative that's being used on social media and on the media, on media, frankly. And what I've been trying to do is de-escalate the situation.
The mayor said he doesn't know how many illegal immigrants have made it to Colorado Springs, but those who have done so organically, because it's not a sanctuary city. Former Aurora police officer Randy Rodema is appealing his conviction in the death of Elijah McClain. Independent attorney Ryan Brackley says the major claim and primary focus of the appeal will be whether there was enough evidence that Rodema killed McClain.
They're essentially saying that the jury got it wrong when they applied the facts the way they did and convicted the former officer of that particular offense.
The Treasury Department is imposing more than 500 new sanctions on Russia to punish Moscow's war machine and those being held responsible for the death of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Despite sanctions already in place, Russia's economy has been growing. President Biden met with Navalny's wife, Yulia. Unfortunately, he called her Yolanda last night.
This morning I had the honor of meeting with Alexei Navalny's wife and daughter. One thing that was made clear to me is that Yolanda she's gonna continue the fight he had underway.
Reports say the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and other agencies are looking into the cause of Thursday's cell phone outages. They are looking into whether it may have been part of a cyber attack or just technical difficulties. The South Carolina GOP primary is tomorrow, where the state's former governor, Nikki Haley, is polling well behind ex-President Trump. Haley has vowed to stay in the race as Trump's last serious Republican challenger, but Trump has maintained a double-digit lead, of course. The first U.S. moon landing since 1972 was successful. Houston-based Intuitive Machines guided its lander onto the moon on Thursday. In sports, Nuggets ran past the Wizards 130-110. Avalanche lost to the Wings 2-1 last night. First Rockies spring training opener today against the Diamondbacks. 24 in Boulder, 27 in Aurora, and 29 in Denver. Jeff and Bill just underway. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Washington Post reporting, for the first time since the last of the Apollo missions in 1972, an American spacecraft reached the surface of the moon Thursday, a significant step towards NASA's plan to eventually return astronauts to the Earth's closest celestial neighbor. After a tense several minutes in which ground controllers were unsure about the health of the spacecraft, designed and operated by Houston-based Intuitive Machines, company officials declared it had landed successfully and was communicating with Earth. About 2 hours after the landing, the company confirmed that after troubleshooting communications, the spacecraft was indeed standing upright, a momentous feat for the growing commercial space industry. We can confirm without a doubt our equipment is on the surface of the moon, Tim Crane, Intuitive Machines Chief Technology Officer, said shortly after the landing, and we are transmitting. So congratulations. But initially, success was not assured as the crews waited to hear from the spacecraft in the first few tense moments after the landing. Crane told his team, "We're not dead yet," while wondering aloud if the spacecraft had landed at an off angle. The company's CEO told his team, "I know this was a nail biter, but we are on the surface and we are transmitting. Welcome to the moon." That's cool, man.
That is really cool.
Like the first time since what, 72?
Yeah, 72. Yeah, first time. And oddly enough, I only know that, not like I'm some sort of space genius. Did that in trivia this week. So that's the only reason I know that. And if you would have asked that to me last week, I would not have known.
And what was the song you played to give a hint?
It was American Pie. One, because last time America was there, and Don McLean released that in 1972. So that's the reason why. It's also a great song. And it works really well for that entire theme. So
you just have to know that in 72. So Bill does a trivia 2 nights a week, right?
Yeah, 2 nights a week, and then sometimes fill in on a third, depending on what they need. So
you just don't stop.
No, I don't. And but trivia is fun. It's something where I get to lean into my nerdness, especially based on music, where I bring things in. I told you a story.
Now, Bill, I got to tell you, you lean into your nerdness all the time.
Yes, I
24/7.
I really do. I appreciate that. And I acknowledge that. One of the questions this week was about, we talked about it off the air, Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory, and what company was involved in financing it. And you had Nestle's and Hershey's and Quaker Oats and Mars. And the answer is Quaker. So I don't have a Quaker song, but I did have Amish Paradise by Weird Al. So you play Amish Paradise in that one. So there are ways that you kind of do little hints. I did one. There was one where the answer was about a bear, and that was the answer out of all the animals on the list. And so I played the psychedelic furs. But again, you got to understand some of the references. You got to understand what is the song, where's the band from, what's the name of the song, what's the name of the band, and then if you look at it enough, there's always going to be something there pointing to the right answer. But It's going to take you a bit of work. I'm not going to make
it
it easy.
is going to take a bit of work. It's almost harder than the trivia question itself.
Well, the thing is, I have a lot of people that come in and play, and they do it because it's a secondary game. And so sometimes they know the answer right away, but now they're trying to figure out, okay, what's the song? Yeah, what's the connection to the song? And sometimes the song will give you that hint every once in a while. And then if I get to play little themes, like there was one where we did, there was a question about the Flintstones, and it was a question about a line in the opening title of the Flintstones. Oh, I could play the Flintstones title. I could also play the B-52's version that came out in the live movie. Again, good. But the best thing to do is to play the 56-second version of when Homer Simpson parodies the Flintstones and makes it about the Simpsons, but it still is the Flintstones open. So again, that's the way you do it. And that's you're not opening the box all the way. You've got to understand the double reference.
Do you ever, what I'm envisioning in my mind is as you're planning this, that meme of the guy that has the conspiracy theory
that's not
with all the red little strings going in between everything.
That really is not far off, because I probably spend about an hour to an hour and a half before each show. And I do that. I sit there and I go through what are the answers, and then kind of game plan. Okay, what are the songs that can make it? And I do have a piece of paper in which it has like those lines. It's just kind of a brainstorming. It's like, okay, these people can possibly fit. This can possibly fit, and I group them. Like, okay, and then you got to look at what fits. Because certain songs I can't come out of a folk song and go to something that's harder. So I was able to weave in. George Clooney was the answer this week, and so I was able to weave in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Yeah. But I had to come out of a more of a country song right before that. So in order to get to "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" I have to then go to the question before and go, okay, what can I do? What's going to hit based on beats? What's going to hit based on theme? And what's not going to be a car crash as I go from one to the other? Sometimes I'll do the car crash songs intentionally for effect, because you need to pay attention. Like, hey, I'm telling you something here, and that's why this song does something different. Yeah. In fact, I had one team that caught my reference to I use a special open song. I talk about Jane from Jefferson Starship. And there is a secondary reference inside of Jane to something else in pop culture. And one of the teams got it. I was like, hey, I went over and I found them and had to go over and chat with them afterwards, because they understood some of the stuff that I was doing. So, yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah, if you want to come out and drink with me in a bar, we can do it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Where? When?
Yeah, I'm at Dry Dock Brewery, Hamden Chambers on Wednesday, and then I'm at Blue Spruce, which is basically county line in Colorado, a little south of that, on Tuesdays. So yeah, come on out. I'm a little bit silly, and it's a lot like, in some ways, you choose the news in many ways as far as how we roll through things. It really is.
Like you just and proving that there is a God, because evolutionary biology would not have produced a person like Bill.
That's true.
And the way he thinks about that, there's a divine presence.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, I would have been weeded out of the herd. Yes.
So what is it that I wasn't even alive in 1972. That was 9 years before I was born. Ooh. So my entire life, the United States has not been to the moon.
Wow.
This is cool. This is inspiring. And it pulls me back to 60s and Kennedy and the idea of going to the moon. And if you ask kids, I saw that study in 1970, what was the top dream of a young 12-year-old boy in 1970 is to go to the moon. Yeah. What do you think it is that is inspiring about it? I mean, obviously it's hard.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of things that are hard.
Oh, yeah. We do a lot of things that are hard.
So why is it so cool to go to the moon?
Math is hard. But I think it's because it is outside of our sphere. It's outside of the Earth. That we are visiting something else, another terrestrial body inside of our solar system. And that is fascinating. Even though it is, we see it every night, it is still thousands and thousands of miles away. And the idea of being able to not only break free of gravity, but then to navigate to that body and then land on it. Again, math is hard. There's so much math involved there that it is ridiculous. And I think that's the idea, is that as humans, I think that we are hardwired towards an idea of exploration. I don't necessarily buy into the idea of manifest destiny, but I do think that as a species, we are curious, sometimes to our detriment. And because sometimes things eat us, but that's sometimes work out so well. But
and then we put those eating things back into our
exactly,
state.
Yeah, yes. And then sometimes you have people that get Guinness Book of World Records things, thinking like, how many matchsticks can I shove up my nose? So again, we're curious. And so I think that's part of it too, is this idea of exploration, that we want to know what's out there. And I think that also, as we talk about religion, is that we also are searching for answers. I do think that there is a larger spiritual component to that, because I think that whether or not we want to acknowledge it as a species, we are searching for the why. Why are we here?
Yeah.
What's the purpose? And I think that gives us some larger connection to how God has set up the universe if we can explore the other, celestial bodies and maybe even beyond, our solar system eventually one day. But yeah, I think that's kind of it, is we're trying to figure everything out.
If it took, I was just looking this up, it would take 7 months to travel to Mars.
Yeah, that's not fun. Yeah.
If someone gave you the opportunity to do that, would you go?
At this point, no. No way.
No?
No.
You'd rather do radio 7 days a week?
Yes, I would. Much rather do radio 7 days a week. And
the
reason for me,
broadcast from Mars.
The reason for me with the Mars thing, there's a couple of things. One, lack of natural resources, the idea of what we're going to do there, etc. There's certain things. Something important like oxygen. That's kind of important. So those type of things worry me.
You watched the movie The
Martian.
The Martian.
Oh, yeah.
You're a little too worried.
Well, I'm way
all
too
your
worried.
Potatoes are going to die.
Yes, I'm totally worried. And the weird thing is, I'm a sci-fi kid, so I read books about going to Mars and going to other planets and things. So I have read about everything that can go wrong. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, wow, there's so many things that can go wrong between here and there. And then once we get there, no, I'm not going to be first. Eventually, sure, absolutely. But no, not at first.
All right. So here's a question.
Would you go? Would you go? I want to know. Would you go?
It depends stage of life. It's just like when Ken Buck retired and people are like, hey, we got calls. Or are you going to run for CD4? Someday, maybe, but not with kids in the home.
Yeah.
So but again, and like that affects you. It affects you the way you think about the world.
Yeah. Again, though, think about it this way: that there are those days when the kids are, like really getting on your nerves, and you're like,
Can I send them to Mars?
Yeah, no, actually, you can just say, I'm going to take a vacation. Kids, will see in a year and a half.
Here's the question I'd love from our KNUS listeners. Did it get you excited to see that America's back on the moon? And why? Or is this just kind of, passing? It's just another news story. If the United States was spending money on this, which I bet it is because NASA is involved, is it a waste of money? Do you believe that we could be doing better things? Or in the discussion that Bill and I were having about Mars, would you go to Mars? Like, are you kind of with Elon Musk in the notion that we've got to be willing to do interstellar travel and create those options? If something goes wrong on this earth, the species has got to be able to get to Mars or to another planet or to the moon or something like that. So is this all part of the future? Are you glad that we're doing this, or should we be spending the money elsewhere? Let's go to Dwayne in Divide. Good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning, gentlemen. I got a full moon setting down over our
Oh, beautiful.
And as you guys are talking about this, the moon facts, it's never been fully confirmed that Neil Armstrong did say mission control, it is Roquefort, but I don't want to go any further on that. The moon is leaving us. Yes, the moon is leaving us. The orbit is getting further and further apart.
Yeah, it is.
And in about 35 to 40 years, they say that the moon will stop and will stay in a continual orbit without going around anymore. So only one part of the world will see the moon. And there'll be a new boom in business for people to go see the moon for holidays, honeymoons, and things of that nature.
Now, Dwayne, if that happens and it gets far enough away that it stops rotating around the Earth, what happens to our tides? That's the part that I've thought about. That I'm like, what happens? Because that changes everything.
Even an issue.
Well, not for us.
Well, yeah. If we have a high tide here, in Colorado, we got much more problems. There's still a lot of discussions whether or not, with it being in a synchronous orbit with us, that'll continue to cause the waves, but probably not as much.
Yeah, that's
of course there'll be some other, if nothing else, we can set off some sort of, semi-thermal nuclear device, and we can make waves that way as well. I mean, there's always a reason to do something.
Yes, there is. Just blow something up. There's always a good reason.
Yeah. 1387-56665.
Uh-oh. Dwayne, you're breaking up on us.
Dwayne, we're getting a bad connection.
You're breaking up on us. I'm so sorry. We're going to let you go. Thanks for
maybe if cool. Dwayne will call back in, we'll get a better connection. But yeah, those are cool. The moon stopping?
Well, it would stop
40 years.
The issue would be, they think the issue is that it's drifting further apart. So as it's spinning around, it's slowly pulling away from us. just gravitational force and just entropy type things. So as it gets slowly away, eventually it will get to a point where the gravitational pull will no longer affect it, where it will spin around us.
Okay.
And so what'll happen is it'll just be stationary. The Earth will continue to spin and rotate. It'll travel with us, but it will just be stationary in the sky. So it's going to look a lot different. Everything's going to be a lot different.
And that's only 40 years away.
Well, they're thinking about it. They're thinking about it, that it could get to that point. My guess is it's probably more. I mean, my guess on it is it's probably going to be at least 100. Just because, again, not a math person, anything else.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you won't have waxing gibbous.
Yeah, no,
waning
you wouldn't have
gibbous,
those. Yeah, and you wouldn't have.
moons.
Yeah, and the tide thing is the one for me, because that's the issue. Is that as the moon rotates, because of its gravitational pull, it changes the tides,
Right.
and that's why you get high tides and low tides. That is going to be the big one for us, because that will change a lot of things ecologically inside the ocean. But again, it's a theory. They think this is what could happen. Not that it will. It really could.
That.
Yeah, it really could continue. I mean, they could be absolutely wrong and do the math wrong, and it could get to a certain point where they think in 40 years it would stop rotating, but it still does, and that doesn't happen. That's why I really think the math might be off, but I have no clue. Yeah, who knows? I wouldn't listen to me either. I would not let me shoot you to the moon. No.
Well,
don't do that.
speaking of aliens, AT&T service restored after customers hit by widespread cellular outages in the U.S. The carrier said Thursday night that the outage that left thousands without service for hours was a process error.
Yeah. So that basically means that somebody forgot to Control-Alt-Delete or something and didn't reboot the machine.
No, that's not what it means.
Yes, that is exactly
a process error is cover for Men in Black had an alien, and it destroyed part of the network, and they just don't want to tell you.
There we go. I like that better. That's much more better than some guy in a basement going, "Oh man, I forgot to push the red button. Uh-oh, this is going to be awkward. This is not going to be good on my performance review."
The trouble started Thursday, but by afternoon, AT&T reported that service had been restored to all customers. Based on an initial review, the company thinks the outage was caused by the application and execution of an incorrect process used as we were expanding our network, not a cyber attack.
So in other words, they messed up. Makes me so confident.
At this point, I don't believe anything anymore.
I just look at the idea of they're like, we broke it. Hang on. Aren't you taking my money every month to insure stuff like this doesn't happen? I don't. Okay, fine.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I guess it's our business relationship isn't secure as I was led to believe.
Well, we talked about this yesterday, and I want to get to it and get your calls here today. Westword reported this just the other day. Lodo restaurant Avelina closes suddenly. Quote, liberal policies are making urban areas worse. Three Saints Revival isn't the only restaurant that cites downtown office vacancies as part of the reason for calling it quits. 3 days before that eatery behind Union Station closed another restaurant. This one in Lodo quietly shuttered, and its owner also blames a lack of business downtown. Avelina opened in 2016 at 1550 17th Street. When that part of town was seeing a restaurant boom, we allowed the place to become a special occasion place. We never wanted that. Totally our fault, says Kevin Jennings of the North Carolina-based Urban Food Group, which owns Avelina. It's only Denver venture. But that's just one item on the laundry list of issues the eatery faced. The minimum wage increase has been unbearable, Jennings added. The latest, which went into effect in January, boosted Denver's minimum wage from $17.29 to $18.29 per hour. And now for all of those employees, their minimum wage is $0. Our sales have never recovered following COVID, he added, citing a drop from $52,000 in sales per week before the pandemic to $26,000 per week after. His list continues. Our landlord was completely unwilling to attempt to assist with a resolution. Lodo is pretty empty following COVID. Downtown Denver area is at 24% vacancy rate, which is the same as other metro areas. Work from home is making the situation worse. Our buildings, 125 attorneys with support staff, is only about 25% occupied on any Monday through Friday. This is not showing up in the stats. And that's not all. Jennings says liberal policies are making urban areas worse. I appreciate the wanting to do good, but these policies only end up with the population all experiencing a lower quality of life. No one has figured out that the only winner in the raise the minimum wage game is the government. They make more. Minimum wage earners make more, but then are faced with everything becoming more expensive. They don't get ahead. Only the government gets a raise. I think it's silly that wealthy libs don't get that. This was published in Westword.
That's interesting. Now, there's some things about that I absolutely agree. There's some things about that I disagree. I disagree on the premise about the wages and the raises based on the lower income earners. If that was true, that all these wages just make everything more expensive, then why are we paying CEOs so much? Because that would also be the same thing. We'd have the same impact. If the issue is that anytime we give raises, things cost more, then no more raises for anybody. Okay, we happy about that? Not going to fix things? No, not going to fix things.
No.
So fundamentally, economically, that doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
The CEO pay is more based upon a free market mentality of your value you bring to the company. So if we're going to pay you $200,000, for instance, because of your experience, your leadership, your worth to the company, and that you're competing with other companies that are willing to pay $200,000. A minimum wage is an artificially inflated wage pressed down upon employers that they then pass on to the customers. It's the customers who end up paying for the minimum wage.
Well, the customers end up paying for the CEO's
right.
compensation
but there's no mandate for that.
Hang on, but the customers pay for the increase in healthcare costs. The customers pay for the increase in rent. The customers pay for the increase in utilities.
Right.
The customers pay for the increase in fuel. The customers pay, the customers pay, the customers pay.
Yes.
So arguing that the customers pay because we have a lower income wage increase and we don't argue that about price increases for everything else is silly. It's not being genuine. So yes, it does raise it, but so does everything else. And I disagree with you on the idea of the CEOs and the free market. Because if we were worried about CEOs in the free market, we wouldn't give them absolution from their mistakes. And we do that all the time. And that's the problem. We don't treat the CEOs like any other employee. We treat them as special little girls and boys, and we give them special little rules and let them do special little things. And they don't compete in the free market like anybody else. Because guess what? If you crash your company and you got major losses,
and you get the golden parachute.
Yes,
are you talking about that?
Yes, that is not free market.
I will grant you the golden parachute.
Yeah, but that is not at the core of the free market.
I think that's a problem. I do think that's a problem.
Yes,
absolutely.
And also,
but
one more thing: the CEO job is not that hard. We have been led to believe that it is this massive, complicated undertaking, and it is not. And we can thank Elon Musk for that example. Last time I checked, he was the CEO of at least 5 companies, maybe down to 4 now. How many hours a week can someone be the CEO of 4 different companies? It's a part-time job for Elon. He can't possibly do it all. Unless he doesn't.
I think he has high capacity. I think he has a ridiculously high capacity.
But if you're talking that we have to be the CEO because it's such a hard job that it's 40, 50, 60 hours a week, Elon can't do that. He doesn't physically have enough time to spend 60 hours a week on 4 different companies. The math doesn't work. So the fundamental idea that the CEO is so difficult that we have to compensate them so much has been shattered by Elon. Not true.
I disagree. We'll get to we'd love to get your calls 303-696-1971 or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Are liberal policies making urban areas worse?
Yeah.
That's a headline in Westword. By the way, they have an entire section at Westword on cannabis. Maybe we should add cannabis or making urban areas
you know
worse
why?
too.
The cannabis advertisers pay a lot of money and their checks clear routinely. They got a lot of cash. But this is almost through the looking glass with this Westword headline. This is fantastic.
Yeah, so give us a call. Are liberal policies making urban areas worse? Do you go downtown anymore? Do you visit Denver? We have totally packed up the Western Conservative Summit, moved it up to Westminster because our attendees won't come if we hold it downtown. So we are, but I'd love to hear from you. And then is Bill right that being the CEO isn't that hard and we shouldn't have these golden parachutes and things like that? My argument, and we got to get to this, but we'll get to my argument after this. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Talking this article in Westword, yes, that bastion of conservatism. Lodo restaurant Avelina closes suddenly. Quote, liberal policies are making urban areas worse. And the owner of this restaurant in downtown Denver that's closing cites a whole host of things: COVID, lockdowns, and people not returning to work. The fact that they can't work with their landlord, there doesn't seem to be a negotiation willing to take place there. And then blaming minimum wage. And we'll get to this discussion. I want to have, do you really believe that liberal policies are what's making urban areas worse? As this headline says from Westword, issues like minimum wage, the COVID lockdowns, the crime, the homelessness. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Let's get to Blake. Blake, what are you working on this morning?
Well, I'll just say you get what you vote for, right? You always hear that.
Right.
Good point.
That's right.
That is what you receive. AT&T says its wireless network has been restored after the problems on Thursday and this morning, and they say it's not a cyber attack, so we'll have more on that. 3 University of Wyoming swimmers die after a crash on 287. We all know how dangerous that can be from Fort Collins to Laramie, so sad story there. President Trump, former President Trump at the National Christian Broadcasters event last night. We'll hear from him on woke policies and him combating that. And the libs of TikTok on X, if you're not on there, you need to get on there, because the most annoying video and audio of all time, if you're not awake, I'll play it for you, a little bit of it, and it'll definitely wake you up. It is, I guess it's hilarious, but then it's frightening. You saw it. I know you saw it, Jeff, yesterday, but it's pretty funny. So we'll have that and much more coming up. It actually should be on You Choose the News, but I'll have it on the newscast as well.
I think it should be your ringtone, actually.
Yes, yes, I agree. I think my wife would love it right next to the bed, you know, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:45, and you hear this thing. So you can't miss that.
That's great, Blake. So Blake with the news at the top of the hour. Thank you. All right, Bill.
Yes.
So
this will be fun.
We're having this conversation about CEO pay and minimum wage, stuff like that. So as a business owner or CEO, there's 2 different ways you can go with this, right? So if you're the business owner and CEO, your job is to maximize your profits, right? So you want to make as much money as you possibly can. If you're the owner of a business and you're going to hire a CEO, which I think was most of the discussion we had in the first segment, your motivation is to hire the cheapest, most competent CEO out there. You're not going to hire the most expensive one. You're going to hire the most effective one that allows you to choose your goals at the minimum amount of money necessary to pay that person. And you're right in the sense that that cost gets passed on to the consumers. You're exactly right. When you have a government mandated pay, like minimum wage, and you force that upon all of and that is forced upon all the customers by the government, you end up in situations like this where the actual minimum wage at this restaurant right now, Avelina, is 0 because they all lost their jobs.
Yeah, and businesses go out of business all the time for a variety of reasons. Yes,
right.
I have been let go from a business closing before.
Yeah,
on a couple occasions. That happens in radio often. So okay.
Yeah,
I'm failing to see where the point is going.
And so what you've created is a situation where you are artificially forcing into a business what the minimum cost for that employee is going to be to pay them. You have to pay them this. You can't pay them anything lower. And so the owner passes that cost on to the consumer,
as they do with all costs. And
then the consumer is saying these prices are too expensive. It's one of the issues. It's not the primary issue, but it's one of the issues. And so this this level of engagement with the government on minimum wage is forcing everything to be more expensive. Whereas with a CEO, you're negotiating that one-on-one. There's no mandate on how much you have to pay a CEO.
But again,
the business owner, the actual force upon the business owner is to try to find the most competent person for the cheapest amount of money.
I disagree with them and the CEO trying to find the CEO the cheapest amount. I disagree with that fundamentally because I don't see that in the marketplace in any way, shape, or form.
Sure.
The other part is that I don't see it. I don't see them going out and trying to find the cheapest CEO, and especially based on compensation. And we can get into how the CEOs are compensated and how fundamentally, especially when you do things like don't put it into monetary compensation, instead make it stock compensation, that twists the fundamental nature of what the CEO is doing and how they take care of the business. And Bed Bath & Beyond is the biggest and largest example we have of that. Sears and Kmart can be a second one. It's an example of that, but we can put that to the side. The reason that minimum wage was created was because the businesses were taking advantage of the employee. That's the reason it exists. If the business was not treating the employee so poorly, we would have started a minimum wage in the first place. That's why it started. We have to understand that in this conversation, we have to understand that the business is not altruistic.
Right.
Yeah.
And, right. No.
And they are going to try.
Money.
Yep. And they are going to try. And that's why unions are so popular in certain areas. And with respect, that's why many businesses tried to crush the unions because of the leverage the employees have. The issue is, during that market, the individual employee has very little leverage in order to get employment compensation. An individual walking into the business has almost zero leverage, especially at the lower end. That's why the minimum wage exists, because otherwise businesses will try to maximize their profits and they will push down on that wage. And we see it over and over and over again, even in a place in which we have minimum wage restrictions.
So if the leverage of the employees, that they actually do the work, right? So they show up and do the work. And what you will naturally see is if you're not willing to pay enough, you're not going to have people willing to work there. And the restaurant across the street that's willing to pay 50 cents more an hour, $1 more an hour is going to get better employees. That's the actual leverage and how the free market should work.
Point of information. Did the restaurant that just closed based on wages, were they having problems finding customers or employees?
I think it's probably both.
What did he say? He said it was customers. He didn't have a problem finding the employees. So the idea that we're going to go somewhere else. I disagree with your principle there based on what you're talking about the employees. This wasn't the problem. The employees weren't the problem. It was the customers. And what I tell you, it's the customers, because guess what? If he had 150% of the business he had prior to the pandemic, he'd be just fine paying those wages to those employees because he'd make the money. So it's not an issue. It's not a fundamental issue of paying the employee. It's a fundamental issue of customers. That's where this lies. The issue is customers. If you can't draw enough customers, you fail. That's okay.
And we just said that we pass the cost on to the customer. So part of that equation is it's really expensive to go out. If minimum wage is $18.29, why not make it $25? Wouldn't that just help the employee better? So who's determining minimum wage? It's not the free market. It's a government bureaucrat making it.
Yeah, but based on what? There is a formula. I know, but they're not pulling the number out of the air.
Yes, they are. They're totally pulling the money out of the air.
No, they're looking at livable costs as far as what it's going to cost to live in the market. Like if you made minimum wage and worked 40 hours a week here in Denver, you'd have a hard time feeding yourself.
Right.
Yeah, and that's an issue. And now we're complaining and we're like, oh my God, we're paying these people too much. The people that fundamentally for minimum wage work 40 hours a week and can't feed themselves and pay rent at the same time, we're like, we're obviously paying them too much. That's the reason. The entire economy is failing because we're not paying the people at the bottom enough. Please, come on. The reason downtown is failing is not because of minimum wage. There's a whole other reason.
It's absolutely part of it.
It is part, but it isn't the primary reason. It probably isn't the top 3 reasons. It's customers. These businesses would not be complaining if the customers were there.
And we've already said that we pass the cost on to the customers, so it's too expensive.
That has been disproven, and I can point you to Seattle. Seattle walked in and they said they raised their minimum wage to $15, and everybody went, "Oh my God, the restaurant industry is going to be devastated." There were some restaurants that ran on a low profit margin that were killed. Other restaurants came in and filled. Other restaurants compensated. Their restaurant economy is booming. They don't have a problem with restaurants, and they pay a high minimum wage. They have the customers. People
No
still,
one- no
but
one's
people still go
stopping them
downtown.
from paying.
I know, but
if they want to pay more,
People still
they
go
can.
downtown. People still go downtown in Seattle. That's the difference.
Not in Denver, they're not.
I know, but I said Seattle. That's the difference. Customers. No, but wait, I know, but no. Hang on a sec. Let's go back. My example was in Seattle. They hiked the minimum wage, and the conversation was it was going to kill the restaurants, and it didn't. It functionally didn't. So this premise that because we have a higher minimum wage, all these restaurants are going out of business has been disproven in a number of markets across the country. The issue is customers. That's the issue. Downtown, we both admitted, is awful to go to.
Yes.
It's too difficult to park, too expensive to park. The homeless down there, the crime down there. It's a pain in the butt based on traffic. Everything about that drives customers away. And then you work in the office space. The office space drives lunch traffic. Lunch traffic can be a very high profit margin for a business because of inputs and because how quickly you can turn the tables over. So there's an issue there. If you all of a sudden devastate one component of a business, the either lunch or dinner business, the business is going to suffer, not because of the wages they're paying. Because of customers.
So
it's customers.
I think it's tied to that. I'll close with this because we got to get to You Choose the News here. And feel free to give us a call if you want. We got a lot of text messages.
Yeah, we do. I'm going to have to get to those. That's the whole man. I appreciate all that.
Everything from Thomas Sowell to we're going to go back to the Gilded Age and company towns. So feel free to give us a call, 303-696-1971 or text us.
Advocate for that. Elon's building his town and Amazon's trying to build a town. Yeah, they're trying to do that. Yeah.
Or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Hey, we all want a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and overcome pain. I'm thriving and fighting back my workout soreness with UltraCur. UltraCur is a patented, non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Surveys show that 50% of people using UltraCur find relief within 48 hours, and half of those within 2 hours. Experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro natural grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is fueled by patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try UltraCur today. UltraCur gives you unique control over your daily wellness. It's gentle on your stomach and is a natural antioxidant. Get curious, Denver. Head to Natural Grocers, grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial, no strings attached. Wondering about the research? Get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. We'll be coming up, the You Choose the News.
Loser edition.
Yeah, you're on with Jeff and Bill show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. The US government is set to roll out fresh sanctions against 500 targets in Russia to mark the 2-year anniversary of Vladimir Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Washington says the new measures will target Russia's military industries and other countries which help Moscow get its hands on the equipment it wants. The sanctions will be delivered in partnership with the US's allies, just 2 days after the European Union, here in Brussels, announced its own raft of measures targeting the Kremlin. The Eiffel Tower remains shuttered for the 5th day in a row. Workers have been on strike since Monday, protesting what they say is a lack of proper investment in Paris's most iconic landmark. Tony Waterman has more.
Thousands of would-be visitors to the Eiffel Tower have been left disappointed this week amid an ongoing strike. At issue is a plan by the city of Paris, which owns the tower, to more than triple its licensing fees to $54 million. Now, the unions say that overestimates the number of expected visitors and underestimates the expected repair costs ahead of the 2024 Paris Olympics. One big thing that's needed, they say, is a new paint job. The tower is going to play a key role in the Olympics, with rumors that the Olympic flame is going to be mounted somewhere on the Iron Lady. In Paris, Tony Waterman, Salem News Channel.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
All right, let's jump into You Choose the News.
Yes, it is time for everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. You Choose the News, Loser Edition.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Loser!
Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
The Losers Club. Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser. You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser.
You are such a loser.
Loser.
Alrighty. As always, these are stories that were not deemed worthy. They were thrown into the garbage heap of You Choose the News earlier this week, but they have another shot at glory. I have dug them out, cleaned them off, and I think that's frosting. Did we have cake earlier this week? I don't know. Okay. Alrighty. Here we go. Here are our returning champions. Well, not champions. Alrighty. Free water feature, headline number 1. Headline number 2, passion and commitment. Check. Knowledge, not so much. Headline number 3, gotta count them all. And headline number 4, definitely not about the election. Jeff Hunt picks our first 2, and Blake Olson picks our final story.
Definitely not about the election.
Yes, this is definitely not about the election. President Biden recently did some really weird stuff on the Tickety Talks, and a bunch of Republicans are saying, no, this is a national crisis. We must immediately remove the president from TikTok because the Chinese government accessed the data. Marco Rubio is leading this charge. Now, he does have a point that after the past few years, the president has banned TikTok from government devices and nearly 4 million federal workers because of security concerns. But he's got to talk to the young voters some way. So he's got to be really creepy about his chocolate chip cookies. Do you see that? Chocolate chip cookies. Come on. So I'm just saying, if you think that TikTok is one, his TikTok account's a national security issue, I'm not so certain about that. And I still say they're just trying to not let him talk to the kids. But I think you should, because I'm not sure it's going to work. Alrighty. Second choice, sir. Free water feature, passion and commitment check, knowledge not so much, or gotta count them all.
Free water feature.
It is a free water feature. We are here at Breckenridge, Colorado for this one. Normally, water features are really expensive when you install them in your home. It could be tens of thousands of dollars, but luckily, a home in Breckenridge got one recently for free. The Summit County Sheriff's Office was called to required to assist, along with the Red, White, and Blue Fire Protection District, when about a foot of water suddenly was rushing through the first floor of a home in Breckenridge. Why? Well, they are down the hill from an old mine shaft. The mine shaft is filled with water. The walls had given way. Boom. Free water feature. And again, probably not the one they were hoping for. But, I guess it's a waiting pool. What can you do? All righty. Final choice this morning is from Blake Olson. Blake, passion and commitment, check. Knowledge, not so much, or gotta count them all.
Gotta count them all for $1,000.
Gotta count them all. Yeah, Pokemon is a really, really fun game. A lot big with the kids, but now they're using it to teach math. They're teaching kids through Pokemon Go the math statistics and the things involved when you're battling inside of the game. They're having the kids work out some of the math problems. How do these stats interact? And it's been a great real life experience for the kids to interact with math. And they're all college kids. It is University of Iowa has a Pokemon Go math class that now has a waiting list. Now, interview with the professor said, oddly, it's encouraging kids to find math in everyday life because they start talking about, well, how far do I get to walk to be able to do a circle to look for a Pokemon in the area? And so he said, it's been an application. He goes, the bottom line is, yeah, it's kind of silly, but they're doing math. So that's a win. That's it.
It's all Greek to me.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Blake Olson. We'll chat with you in just a second. And that is the end of You Choose the News. As always, I am a giant loser. Jeff and Blake are our winners, and we are definitely not sponsored by Lair Fireplace and Patio. They want nothing to do with this.
So just go buy their product. Just don't mention us, right?
Yeah, don't mention us. Please
You're
don't.
listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
That's your alarm going off. It's 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show this Friday, February 23rd. Good morning, Bill.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. We had fun last hour.
Woo-wee!
Yeah.
And this conveation will continue probably into the 9 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
I think you said Patty Calhoun will join us.
Yeah, so John's at 8. Yeah.
Or at 8. So this headline from Westword: liberal policies are making urban areas worse. And Bill and I had a spirited conversation about minimum wage, CEO pay, all that type of stuff.
It was good. I mean, in a way that most people don't have that conversation.
Right, which is unique here on the Jeff and Bill Show. Feel free to give us a call to jump in on this conversation because we want you to be a part of it. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Frank, we'll get to you in just a second. Lots of text messages. Look, Bill, I am not at all opposed to the CEO pay issue and the lack of accountability. I know some senior vice presidents who have done really, really bad in their jobs, and they got a nice little applause as they walked out the door and honored for all their work and all that stuff. And I'm like, you literally lost millions of dollars. I mean, if that had happened to anybody else, they would have been fired and run out. So
here's one of the examples, and I talked about Bed Bath & Beyond, and we'll get to Blake Olson's news in a sec. Bed Bath & Beyond, the CEO spent just over a decade, $12 billion, $12 or $11 billion on stock buybacks.
Yeah.
The company is in bankruptcy because they couldn't facilitate their $5 billion debt.
Yeah.
The CEO made the choice to buy back the stock because his compensation increases the more the stock price increases. So he's giving himself a raise and has the ability.
Sure.
So instead of managing the company financially, he decided to give himself a raise. He could have paid off the entire debt. Bed Bath & Beyond could have been 100% debt free, and he still could have spent $6 billion on stock buybacks. But being the CEO, being the responsible steward of the ship, he decided, give me more money and I will crash this sucker into the rocks.
So, and look, there's the way investment operations treat newspapers and all that stuff. I get that there's people out there that milk these things for as much profit and it harms people. I'm not disagreeing with that. But this idea that somehow minimum wage isn't a problem for the city of Denver, I think it can. I think this CEO that had to shut down this restaurant was probably exactly right. And
I agree.
The more they make more, minimum wage earners make more, but then they are faced with everything else becoming more expensive. So they don't get ahead. So it's part of this inflationary policy that pushes everything up in this country because the government steps into it. All right, we got to get to this. Is what the last hour. If you missed any of the last hour, go to the 710knus.com podcast and you can listen to it there. And we'll continue this conversation. By the way, the Democrats voting to give themselves a pay raise. So
of course they
congratulations down there at the state capitol. Let's get to the news with Blake Olson.
Yeah, they deserve it. Thank you. 29 clear skies and sunny in Denver, in for another gorgeous day today with highs in the 50s. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story: 3 members of the University of Wyoming swim team are dead following a single vehicle crash in Larimer County. It happened on Highway 287 near Livermore, and the Colorado State Patrol says the victims were an 18-year-old woman and 2 men aged 21 and 22. Investigators say the Toyota RAV4 transporting the students went across both lanes of the highway and rolled down an embankment. 2 other people in the vehicle were injured. Jefferson County deputies trying to identify a suspect who committed an armed robbery at the Exxon gas station on US 40 in Golden, where deputies say a man walked in, asked for cigarettes, and pulled a gun on the clerk. Anyone with information should contact the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. President Trump at the Christian Broadcasters event last night. He's ready to combat woke policies.
On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto our children.
The FBI and Department of Homeland Security were looking into the cell phone issue on Thursday, but an update this morning.
AT&T is blaming the outage on a software error when it upgraded its network and not a cyber attack. While Verizon and T-Mobile customers also flagged service issues, those companies say that was most likely due to problems contacting customers on AT&T networks. AT&T is the third largest U.S. retail wireless carrier with about 87 million subscribers. AT&T was trading down 2.5% following the outage. T-Mobile and Verizon are also trading lower as of Friday. Aaron Real, NBC News Radio.
The Treasury Department is imposing more than 500 new sanctions on Russia to punish Moscow's war machine and those being held responsible for the death of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Despite sanctions already in place, Russia's economy has been growing. President Biden met with Navalny's wife, Yulia. Unfortunately, he called her Yolanda last night. The South Carolina GOP primary is tomorrow, where the state's former governor, Nikki Haley, trails big. Trump has maintained a double-digit lead, including one poll putting him up by 35 points. Libs of TikTok on X, if you've ever looked at it, with the most annoying video ever, I think. It is titled "White Liberal Women at It Again." It is a must-see. Here's a little of it. You can hear what's going on. It sounds like they're doing the haka, I think. So you need to check that out on X, on Libs of TikTok. I heard that, and the first thing that came to mind was this. 25 in Arvada, 26 in Littleton, 29 in Denver. You got to see it. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right, Westword reporting. Lodo Restaurant Avelina closes suddenly. Liberal policies are making urban areas worse. This was in addition to Three Saints Revival, which isn't the only restaurant that city's downtown office vacancies are part of the reason for calling it quits. 3 days after that eatery behind Union Station closed, another restaurant, this one in Lodo, quietly shuttered. And its owner also blames a lack of business downtown. Avelina opened in 2016 on 17th Street when that part of the town was seeing a restaurant boom. We allowed the place to become a special occasion place. We never wanted that. Totally our fault, says Kevin Jennings of the North Carolina-based Urban Food Company, which owned Avelina. It's only a Denver venture, but that's just one item on a laundry list of issues the eatery faced. And he kind of laid this all out in a Yelp response. Someone posted, my reservation I made weeks ago was canceled without any reason at random, and now the restaurant is booked up for the time. We've been forced to last minute organize other plans. Don't cancel reservations without reason. We'll not even attempt to come back here. 1 star.
Well,
one star rating.
They are closed.
So Kevin responded.
Not going to get come back anyway.
Yeah, we lost thousands and thousands of dollars trying to stay open after COVID. Lodo offices are empty. We can't even do 1/2 of the sales we were achieving before COVID. We paid to keep the place open for the last 2 years. We are now closed for good. So no, we aren't booked. We lost our behinds. You said a different word, and are now done. All you idiots running this town can do is raise the minimum wage, running small business owners out of business. cry me a river about your dinner reservation.
Now, I do salute him for taking a loss for 2 years. That is difficult to do, and most restaurants cannot do that because of operating costs. Although it's odd. I do see his anger as the liberals, but then at the end, he talks about raising minimum wage.
Yes.
But earlier in his post, what was his pain point?
Well, there's no employees or no customers.
Yeah, that's it. So the issue is his anger.
You're like trying to separate them.
No, they're connected.
They are connected.
Yes, and they are. And here's the reason. He doesn't write that if he has 150% of his customers. He's not mad about the minimum wage raising because he can take care of it. The issue he has is 50% loss of customers. If he had 100% of the customers he had before the pandemic, he may have to adjust staff. He may have to adjust scheduling, but he could make it. The issue is not the wage. The issue is the customer.
The wage is definitely tied to it.
Oh,
Here's
yes,
why.
it is. Absolutely.
Here's why. Because it's not just the fact that people aren't working downtown that they don't want to go down there. Part of it is all this inflation issues. I mean, we just don't go. A lot of people just don't go out to eat because things are so expensive right now.
Yes, exactly.
And they're partially tied to minimum wage. I will tell you this. I interviewed, we hosted former CEO of Carl's Jr. one time at the Western Conservative Summit. So Carl's Jr., minimum wage, all that stuff. If you're anywhere over the age of 25 and still making minimum wage, there's something wrong. It's not designed to carry you through life and provide for all the things you need to midway into your life. It's a minimum wage. It is a starting wage.
Yeah, and nor does it. In Denver, it does not provide a minimum wage in Denver.
It's not. That's not the point of it.
I know, but I'm saying that functionally is true. You're absolutely right, and it does not. So we can't argue that the minimum wage is too high because we're paying these people too much because they're going to get to live on it. They can't, and they don't.
No, you're artificially inflation through government policy a wage that should be at the very beginning of your career, just when you're starting out.
Okay, but
because after that, everything else is negotiated when you're hired.
Now,
you're paid a value for the service you bring to the company. Sorry,
true. No, it's okay. And I was interrupting as well. That there is the idea of the time value of money. Prices increase over time. That is natural. Prices of everything increase. Everything increases year to year. What you were paying 10 years ago for a Big Mac is not the same that you're paying today.
We got off the gold standard.
I'm not carrying gold around with me. You can if you want. That's way too heavy. There's no way in hell I'm doing that one. So the idea that we're just, and this is the thing that I find so fascinating in this conversation, we're only ever mad about low income wages. We're never mad about the increase in the cost of inputs. We're never mad about the increase of the raw materials. We're never mad about the increase in rent. We're never mad about the increase in
minimum wage, though.
No,
the steel company that makes the steel for the input.
No, it's not. The rent downtown on the restaurant is not going up because of minimum wage. It's not doing it because of minimum wage. I submit that, yes, minimum wage has an influence, but there are lots of other inputs as well. And I'm just pointing out the only one we ever cry about is when we pay the people at the bottom more money. And I'm just saying, please, people, let's have a conversation about all of it. And we can talk about inflation. We can talk about why it exists that way. We can talk about what's going on inside of the economy, because oddly enough, the pressure you're having in inflation has very little to do with the income that minimum wage earners are having. It has everything to do with corporate profit margins. That's where you are seeing this inflationary pressure. That's economically, that's where it is. And I'm not just the one saying this. The CEOs of these companies are proudly declaring it on earnings calls. We have numerous examples over 2023 of CEOs talking about the vast increase in their profit margin. And it is wonderful for the company because, of course, they're going to brag and you got to be a better stockholder. So, yes, they're very open and honest that we are charging more than we need to for the products and we're taking more money and we're getting more profit. Yes, they're open to that. Yeah, the CEO for Pepsi talked about the fact that their input costs have returned. So the raw material costs that they had before the pandemic, that's where they are. They raised their prices over the past 4 years. Every year, they're going to raise them again. Their input costs have lowered. They don't need the higher cost. The cost isn't returning. And he bragged about the fact that they are not lowering the cost because they don't have to. The consumer has nothing else to do. They're going to have to buy Pepsi or Coke. They don't have to lower the cost. And they're bragging about the fact that when the input cost lowers, the margin increases and they still increase the price. So they're bragging about the fact that they're going to have higher profit margins coming in 2024 because despite the fact that it costs them less to produce Pepsi, they're going to charge you and I more at the store.
And you have the freedom to not buy it. You could always go buy OK Soda.
Yes, but the issue is the pressure is not from the bottom wage earners. That's not where the inflation pressure is at this point. That's the issue. That when we're crying about the idea that because we're paying the lowest earners more money, that somehow that's creating the cost increase, not at all. That's not what the numbers are telling us. That's not what the CEOs of the companies that are getting these massive profits are telling us. They're telling us what they're doing. I'm not interpreting anything. I'm just telling you what they say.
I don't think these restaurant owners shutting down restaurants in Denver are trying to maximize profits. When they can't even keep their businesses.
I agree
open.
but the restaurant owner is going to pay more for the Pepsi he puts into his store and into his restaurant because of the higher profit margin. You're going to have to pay more for chicken because we have 5 or 6 chicken processors.
There's a check on this. It's called the free market. You can have other people pop up to provide another product.
But we only have 4 major meat processors as far as ground beef. I think we have 3 or 4 for pork. I think we have 5, 6 for chicken. That ends up being a monopoly. And the chicken industry was recently found guilty of price fixing.
Yes.
That's where it comes from. So that's the issue is and then this is where you and I, it sounds like we're on these other sides. This is where you and I connect on this one.
Yeah.
It's lack of competition.
Yes.
That's part of it. If we would get competition back into those marketplaces, we had competition in the soda, Pepsi wouldn't do that. And that's the issue. So I am not this liberal, oh my God, we got to pay everybody $25 an hour. No, I'm coming at this saying, look at the customer and also look at the inputs and what's happening as far as raw materials going into that restaurant. The restaurant failed because of customers. And that is because of liberal policies in downtown Denver, 110%. That's why you don't have the customers.
Text message 5442. I heard that the Denver City Council is going to pass a resolution blaming Denver restaurant closings on climate change. So, there
of course
you
they
go.
would. Of course.
All right, let's get to Frank. He's been on long enough. Frank, you're on line 1 with the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Frank.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm working hard right now to overlook Billy's foibles.
It's difficult, my friend. It is difficult, but I appreciate the effort.
His wife does it every day.
Billy, I had to look that one up. It's a good one. It's on my keeper list now.
Thank you.
Anyway, so companies are not altruistic. Unions are not altruistic. Nothing humans come up with is totally altruistic all the time.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that, but I could share my union story with you when I was a member of the Teamsters, but that'd take way too much time.
Oh, I'm there with you. I'm there with you, Frank, on unions. I believe that the base function, the core of unions is solid, but as with any organization, especially with the union, they get way too full of themselves. And there are myriad of examples of them trying to too narrowly define jobs and other crap that gets in the way. They forget their fundamental issue. Yeah.
Just ask all the refugees in Detroit. It was the richest town in the nation at one time, and now it's basically I don't know what you call it.
Oh yeah, how the Teamsters increase prices just based on facility costs in New York is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They are raping some of those companies. It is ridiculous what they do. Absolutely, I'm with you on that one, man.
Yeah, and here's the thing too is the only inputs to production are land, labor, and capital.
Yeah.
The land is obviously, the capital is obvious. The labor is a major component. That is, labor is really the only cost. There is nothing else. Everything
there are input costs.
Labor.
There is raw material input costs. If you're making shoes, you got to pay for the raw material. So but I don't know where you're putting that in that group.
No, the raw materials are mined out of the ground, or it's all labor at some point. Everything is labor, Billy. Anyway, I do have a question for you, and that is, if I have a company and I'm building widgets, and I'm trying to be profitable because I want to maximize my wealth, and so tell me, what determines the price of my widget? Is it my cost, or is it what is it?
It is a balance, and it's a fun balance. You have to maximize the amount that you can charge while also covering the cost to produce.
Okay.
Yeah, basically
it. Failed the test. You just failed the test, Billy.
No, that's true.
What determines the price? I said, what determines the price? What determines the price of my widget is the market. If I produce a widget,
Frank, that's what I said. I just explained it differently. What I said was, Frank, what I said was, it is the maximum amount that you can charge while also covering the cost of production. That is the market forces. You don't sell it for less than you can, and you do because otherwise you go out of business. And then you get whatever the market allows you. You get that maximum price. So yes, it is the market, and that's how the market force works.
All the time. Companies sell stuff at a loss all the time. The one you just referenced was Bed Bath & Beyond. They were there's so many of them you could reference. Sun Microsystems.
But with respect, though, that's a loss leader. They don't sell the entire inventory at a loss because you can't make money then, and you know that functionally, economically.
You sell one thing at a time. I mean,
well, I know, but there are loss. But Frank, you're mischaracterizing this. They're loss leaders. They sell individual products at a loss in order to get you in the store, and then you buy other things that have higher margins. You know that.
No, there's more than just a loss leader. It's also a situation where the CEO, who may not be the best CEO, screwed up, and on the inputs to production, he didn't adequately price, what the inputs to production were, which are land, labor, and capital. And if you want to look at a really good example of that, look at Sun Microsystems. They had the best product on the planet. They couldn't sell it at a profit though, and they did that for almost 10 years before the company finally never went belly up, luckily, but they got bought by Oracle.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: is that the Bed Bath & Beyond now is owned by Overstock. Overstock bought their internet, and of course they shut down all the stores.
Yeah.
But the problem with Bed Bath & Beyond, and my wife and my kids and I were great customers of theirs. We loved the place. But what happens is a lot of you see this more often in restaurants, I think, where I'll be going to a restaurant for 10 years and we love the place just the way it is. A new company buys it, and the new guy's got to change it to what he wants.
Yeah.
He has to say, I bought this because I want to make more profit. And he screwed up. A good example of that right here in Denver is Macaroni Grill. It was a friggin' awesome place.
Oh, yeah,
Look
that's a good point. That is a good point, yeah.
I mean, and the other thing about CEOs, there are very many different kinds of CEOs. There are CEOs that are hired to run a company, to sell a company. There are CEOs hired to start up a company. There are CEOs hired to sell a company. Every single flavor of CEO is out there. And it's to characterize them as one kind of CEO, that's BS. I don't know if you saw
the thing for me, Frank. The thing for me, Frank, is that, and I appreciate the call. The thing for me is I disagree with not holding them accountable. The idea that the CEO gets to chart the course and then doesn't have to go down with the ship. That what we do is we have them run the ship into an iceberg, and then we give them their own little helicopter to leave while everybody else dies.
And nobody disagrees with you on that, but I think that's a small segment of CEOs, company owners. And I think there's a big difference between big corporate CEOs like that, what you're talking about, and small business owners.
True.
Let's get to Greg with in Colorado, line 2. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Greg.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. Earlier, you were talking about, mom and pops going out of business and big stores staying open. Well, that's, in the government's interest. It's a lot easier for the government to control, threaten, conspire with 5 giant corporations than with 5,000 mom and pops.
Yeah.
And, that is the bedrock of fascism. The tight control, or the cooperation, I should say, between government and industry. It's not communism, but it's fascism, and that's how they got started. I also, it's a totally different discussion, but it takes some time. But previous guys was talking about Sun Microsystems, and I worked at HP for my career, and there's a lot of competition there. But every professional employee at HP was required to know the statement of corporate objectives, why we're in business, and I started there in '78, and I left after Carly Fiorina came in there. But, there's the very first statement. The purpose for being in business is profit. Like every 5 or 10 years, they might redo them, but it was always profit first, customers were number 2, and then 3 and 4 would alternate between employees and technology. And so the highest that employees ever got was 3rd place. And I think that those statements of corporate objectives should be written into law. If you're a corporation, your first responsibility is to the investors and the owners, to make a profit. Because if you don't make a profit, you're not going to be around to do anything else.
That's
Anyway,
a good point. Now,
that-
Greg, I'm going to talk about something here. The balance of when you get into those large corporations, I agree, you're right, that it is the government prefers the monopolies because they are easy to control and regulate. And I was surprised when Biden's administration recently did not allow Spirit and JetBlue to merge. That was an interesting choice. It keeps competition in the marketplace. That was an interesting choice. What do you think about when you get to large corporations and then putting value of stock and the investor number one over everything else inside of the company? And one of the examples I can give, I would say that where that goes bad would be the one we're discussing, Bed Bath & Beyond, where stock price over everything was what they chased, and now the company is in bankruptcy.
Well, stock price is an outcome. The you should strive to make a profit.
Good
Now,
point.
if you do that, your stock price is going to do well. Okay, but the price of stock and market share was never among the statement of corporate objectives at HP. It was profit, and it's raw capitalism, because if you pursue profit and you do well, here's an example. I started there in '78 and I left in 2010. Well, actually, first I left when Carly came along. In 20-something years, the stock split 6 times. So 2 to the 6,000. That's 64 times. The value of the stock went up from 78 to 2002 or something like that, and it never split after that. After Carly Fiorina came on board, and then
Why
they
she's
fired
probably
her.
not president.
No, and in fact, she was the president, CEO, and chairman of the board.
Oh boy!
And got fired.
Well, I do, Greg. I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Greg's line is open 303-696-1971. I do want to make sure we bring us back. This was a small restaurant in Denver, and somehow we got off onto Sun Microsystems and Hewlett Packard and Bed Bath & Beyond. And we'll get to Patty Calhoun at the top of the 8 o'clock hour on this, but small business owners in the city of Denver are saying liberal policies are making urban areas worse. One of them being minimum wage laws, others being the COVID policies, the crime downtown, the homelessness downtown, the drug use that's taking place downtown. That's what we've got to keep our focus in on. We're going to continue to lose the city of Denver on this stuff. And this should be a clarion call to the rest of us. Guys, speaking of good small businesses, really good ones, imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-em-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-em-out shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leave satisfied customers wherever they go, and their all 5-star reviews confirm this. Here's what some of the overjoyed customers say. Joyce replied to my initial email and scheduled the estimate quickly. Installation was quick and clean. The shelves are sturdy and made better than most I've seen. Very, very happy customer. I had put this off for so long thinking it was going to be so much more expensive. I'm glad I didn't. Life-changing. So much wasted space in our kitchen cabinets. My space has literally tripled, and I'm so happy. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll-em-out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them Jeff sent you. Rollemoutshelves.com, 303-475-9601. Coming up here soon, Scott Ballard with Saturate USA and the effort that they're doing to bring the gospel of Jesus Christ to 120 million homes by the end of 2027. You're not going to want to miss this. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
7:34 in the Mile High City. I saw these guys at Red Rocks when I was
Ooh, that would've
like
been good.
16 years old or something, 15, 14, something
And
like
that would have been their
I saw
heyday.
Oasis and Bush.
Oh, wow. So that would have been Bush's second.
And then,
tour?
Gwen Stefani opened too. So it was a fun show back then.
That was, I remember I was at the show. That's when Gwen Stefani broke her ankle. Gwen Stefani was the opener, and Bush and Oasis. Yeah. Guess what? I still have the concert tour T-shirt.
Do you?
Yes.
You have to wear that. I don't go to too many concerts. That was one of them.
I don't know if they'll let me wear it. And here's the kids. Here's the tip: if you're going to the concert, buy the one with the dates on it. That's the one that is the coolest when you get older. Just let you know.
That's right.
Yep,
you look back because that was probably like 95.
Oh yeah, I have a Woodstock '99 concert T-shirt. Yes, I was there with the fire. We'll tell that story for a day.
Scott Baller is going to join us in just a second. He's the Chief Operating Officer for Saturate USA. Blake, what are you working on for the news at the top of the hour?
I just have to tell you, the last concert of Red Rocks for me, 1987, Shaka Khan. Okay.
Ooh, nice.
Wow, that was your last concert?
We're going to get you back to Red Rocks.
That was the actual last concert I've ever been to.
Blake, this sounds like a challenge.
Yes, it does. No, I think I've been to another concert since then. Hey, we're working on this story with Chinese coming across the border. Of course, some seeking asylum and then some not so much. So we'll hear from a professor on that. AT&T explains their problems with cell service on Thursday. And sad story, 3 University of Wyoming swimmers die in a car crash on 287. Also, President Trump at the Christian Broadcasters event, and an Aurora police officer appealing his conviction in the Elijah McClain case. So that and more coming up at the top of the hour.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Blake. We'll look forward to that. Scott Baller's joining us. He's the Chief Operating Officer for Saturate USA. Saturate USA is a God-sized vision to take the love of the gospel to 120 million households by the end of 2027. The hope is to spark true repentance and revival in our beloved country. Scott, thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
So how do you plan to take the gospel of Jesus Christ to 120 million homes?
Well, the goal of that is to do it with the church. We want to empower the church to get outside their walls and go out and share the gospel with their neighborhoods and the communities they're in. And so we have already partnered with over 13,000 churches in the past 5 years since this got started. And our goal is to continue doing that. We know that our job as Christians is to get out there and share the gospel, the good news, the Great Commission. And so our goal is to get as many people and churches out there doing it. And so we started about 5 years ago, and I'm so excited to let people know we've already had about 49 million homes adopted in the United States. There's approximately 120 million, and we've had almost 50 million adopted by over 13,000 churches.
And what does it mean to adopt a home?
Yeah, so what we did is about 5 years ago, a group of people got together and just really felt like that we needed a revival. We needed something in our country to get people back to church and back to the values that we feel are important to the Bible. And so we were looking for a mechanism to do that. And as we were researching this, we had some pretty good marketing people on the team. We found out that Barna had done a study a couple years back that looked at the households of the United States. And the study came back and said that over 30% of the houses in the United States, their heart language, so the language they speak when they're at home, is not English. And so if you could think about that, over 30% of the homes, that's about 1 out of 3 does not speak English. And so we knew if we wanted to get out there and share the gospel, we were going to have some kind of mechanism that we could use that would allow it to be in multiple languages. There's a film that was put together some years back and was remastered just recently called The Jesus Film. And it's the most watched film that's ever in the world. And so we partnered with them, and we provide these churches what we call saturation packs. And in that saturation pack is a couple things. It's one, it has a DVD which gives you instructions on how you can
actually stream the Jesus Film movie in over 2,000 different languages. It also has in the packet a book called Do You Want to Know God Personally? And that's a booklet that was put together by an organization called Crew. It's been used for a long, long time. I've used it in not only the United States, but in Russia and different places. It's a great tool to help people understand what it looks like to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. So that's put in there. The last piece is required by the church, and that is this movement is not to get people to go to Saturate USA, it's to get the people to go back to the local church. And so the local church puts information in the packets that they go out. And so it's really simple. You go to Saturate USA, it takes you about 15 to 20 seconds to fill out a quick form. You'd get a call from our organization, one of the people, and the church then adopts the zip code they're in. And so zip codes can range from, a couple hundred homes to thousands of homes. And so the church adopts that zip code. And then what happens is, free of charge, we will send them within about 2 weeks custom maps of the zip code they've adopted and packets for every home in that zip code. And that's the kind of gist of how it all works.
Very exciting to see this type of initiative. We're talking with Scott Baller. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Saturate USA. Saturate USA is a God-sized vision to take the love of the gospel to 120 million households by the end of 2027. Scott, just last night, I was visited by 2 Mormon missionaries. I've probably been visited by Mormon missionaries about a dozen times over the years, Jehovah's Witnesses as well. But I've never had a local church outreach and send people to my door. Why do you think this is such a challenge for local churches to do?
Well, I think that we have, in recent years, been very focused on missionary work outside the United States. And I think, 20, 30 years ago, that was probably needed more than here. But the truth is, I think where our country is right now, we need to get back to the values that are in the Bible and what our country was founded on. And so I think the churches have been so prone to going overseas to do stuff that we've kind of, in some ways, neglected what we have to do here. And as anyone that knows the Great Commission, it starts in your Jerusalem. It doesn't say first go outside and then when you're done with that, come back here. It says we got to start here at our Jerusalem where we live. And so I think that's the goal. I think COVID has caused, obviously that scare that was there on the COVID thing has caused it to, people to slow down. But the truth is that I think if you look at most of the churches that are thriving right now, they're getting outside the doors. They're doing stuff. They're getting out in their communities. And you know what they're doing? They're letting people know that they care about them. They love them. And I think that's the model that Christ obviously showed to us in the Bible, right?
That's exactly right. The website is saturateusa.org, saturateusa.org if you want to join and be a part of this. What's the response you're getting from churches? Are they excited to partner with you on this? Does it make life easier for them? Seems like you provide a lot of resources for them.
Yeah, the great thing about it is it's been totally funded by private individuals here in the United States that are Christians and love our country. And so it's free. I will be honest, sometimes it's hard for some of the pastors to understand that because we get that all the time. Hey, it's free, but there's always some kind of catch. But I'm telling you, it's 100% free. We ship stuff to you. If you need more, we send more. And I would just say that, what they find, and any of us that have gone out and done any, humanitarian aid or mission work, you get out there and you think, I'm going to go do this food pantry down in downtown Denver. You go down there and you're serving people, you're helping them. What turns out is you get blessed more by those people down there than you probably are blessing them. And it's crazy when we get outside the walls of our church and we go out and we just meet people where they're at. It's incredible what just all we have to do is plant that seed and we let the Holy Spirit work. And it's been phenomenal. One story after another. Not only has it been great seeing people come to Christ, but it's found, people that were looking for a church and didn't even realize it was 3 blocks away, or, just different stories, just hundreds and thousands of them we hear every day.
Obviously, part of the priority is personal salvation. We want to save souls. We want people to find the relationship with Jesus Christ and have their life improved, have their community improved as well. But one of the aspects is that the nature of our neighborhoods, of our communities, will improve as well, because people are better connected. And we believe that, like James Madison said, that this country, this Constitution requires a moral and religious people and is wholly inadequate to any other, right? So there's also a vision that this will help improve the country, right?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I'm sure most of the listeners on your show are conservative and have Christian values, and that's what's important. And I just believe that if we get back to the basis of those kind of things, a lot of the issues that we're dealing with in our country, not only just personally, but business-wise and even political-wise, it's not that hard to figure out what the Bible says about that and where the Lord's stance is. And so, I think that's important. But, as we go day to day, I'm just as much at blame for this. I drive down the road, get in my car, go into the grocery store, going to work, see a guy there, and I wave to him. I've never talked to him about that I go to church every Sunday, that Christ is the most important decision I ever made in my life, the relationship there. And I think it's important, if I really care about the people around me, I've got to be doing that.
Amen to that. SaturateUSA.org. That's SaturateUSA.org. Take advantage of this, guys, because I work in public policy all day, every day. I'm down at the state capitol. I've run campaigns, local campaigns. I've been a part of presidential campaigns. I fully believe this to the core of my being, that what will actually save this nation from the challenges that it faces is the proclamation of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is individual souls being saved by a loving God, the presence of the Holy Spirit in their lives, bringing them into that personal relationship. That is what this country needs. We need to be engaged in the political process. I absolutely believe that, but we do it from a place of faith first and foremost. And I'm so glad that Saturate USA is out there sharing the gospel and encouraging churches to be a part of this. This isn't just, here's a gospel tract, best of luck with you. It is, here's your neighborhood church, a good church that believes the right things. This is the way for you to get involved. So all of this is available at SaturateUSA.org. That's SaturateUSA.org. Scott, I'm really glad you spent some time with us. How can somebody encourage their church to be a part of what you're doing?
Well, I'll just give a quick story that'll kind of encourage people to understand what's going out there. So there was a church in Florida that took this on, and they had their small groups take different neighborhoods. And so this small group took this neighborhood, about 200 homes, and they decided, we're going to go put these on the doors, and we're going to go back 2 weeks later and follow up. So they go out, they put them on the doors. This couple goes back, they're walking in their own neighborhood, a house they've driven by probably thousands of times. And they go up, they said, hey, we're from the First Baptist Church here. We are excited. We dropped this off. We just wanted to follow up and see if there was something we could be praying for you on, or, we could help. And the lady got pretty emotional. She said, well, I just want you to know, thank you for dropping that off. My husband had cancer, and he died just recently. But before he died, you guys had dropped that off at our door, and he actually started watching the movie, and I got a chance to lead him to Christ. If it wasn't for you guys doing that, I can honestly say I don't think he'd be in heaven today. And so it's an opportunity for people to know that all we need to do is plant the seed and let the Holy Spirit do the rest of the work. These people go out and they do this, and we're praying on each home. You're praying for your neighbors. And the other part that's so powerful in our relationship with Jesus Christ is the power of prayer. And so I think that's the key. It's getting out there. It's such a simple thing to do. Churches can, we've had youth groups do this. We've had older, small groups do it. There's so many pieces where they can all fit into this piece. And it's just an awesome opportunity for a church, the group, to come together and to bless their neighborhood. The other great thing that's happening too is what we're seeing is multiple churches, Jeff, working together. It's a big zip code, 20,000. So there'll be 3 churches working together. And now all of a sudden you've got this Church of Christ working with Lutherans, working with Baptists, working with, all the denominations out there. And it's crazy because they have one goal. The goal is to love their neighbors. And
Amen.
It's a pretty easy thing to do. So, yeah, thank you for your time. We appreciate you guys letting us be on. And we just want so many churches and individuals to get out there and get signed up for Saturate USA. We want to give away this free stuff so that we can have more people in the kingdom of heaven with us.
Amen. Scott Ballard, Chief Operating Officer, Saturate USA. Go to saturateusa.org, saturateusa.org. All right. Thank you, Scott. We'll get to Greg Lopez in just a second. Jeff Hunt here for my friends at the law offices of Dan Caplis. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar jury verdicts in motor vehicle crash cases. Dan and his partner, Babar Waheed, won the largest truck crash jury verdict in Colorado history. The firm's history of 7- and 8-figure settlements and verdicts speaks for itself. They are a firm where good people from all walks of life, without regard to ability to pay, receive the level of legal representation that the rich and powerful enjoy. Dan Caplis Law believes that talk is cheap, experience counts, results matter. The firm would be happy to share with you its track record of outstanding jury verdicts and out-of-court settlements. Dan Caplis Law believes that who you hire says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. They suggest that you choose a law firm that shares your values. The firm believes that its core values have been the foundation of its historic success, faith, integrity, hard work, and a dedication to righteous causes. If you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's dancaplis.law.com. Greg Lopez up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. The US government is set to roll out fresh sanctions against 500 targets in Russia to mark the 2-year anniversary of Vladimir Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Washington says the new measures will target Russia's military industries and other countries which help Moscow get its hands on the equipment it wants. The sanctions will be delivered in partnership with the US's allies, just 2 days after the European Union, here in Brussels, announced its own raft of measures targeting the Kremlin. Almost half of Japanese companies believe another Donald Trump presidency would be a risk to business. A majority of the businesses polled say the former president's protectionist policies are a concern. Chris Gilbert reports from Tokyo.
Donald Trump has rattled business confidence here in Japan with comments earlier this month that if he was to once again win the White House, he would block Nippon Steel's $14 billion acquisition of U.S. steel. And these sentiments are what have Japanese firms worried, 49% saying that they believe another Trump presidency could be a risk to business, only 3% believing it would be an opportunity, and 49% believing that it would lead to protectionist policies growing around the world. Some businesses here even saying they are already planning contingency strategies in case Trump once again wins the White House.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
He's off to get some ice cream.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. President.
I
Appreciate
love
it.
this song.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
What a great Friday song, man.
Yeah. How does this not make you smile?
There you go. That was our wedding song. I think you knew that.
Really? And the tone of his voice, it's just, God, it's pretty.
So I'm a big, my wife and I will go to Keith Urban song concerts. He is great.
Nice.
Like, okay, I'll talk to you, Mr. Music Man. We'll get to, we're already at the bump out.
Oh, man, the bump out. We just, crap. Greg, we're sorry.
Oh, Greg, if you
Bad
want to
time
stick around,
management,
we'll still get you. We'll get Patricia Calhoun. How about Patricia Calhoun and Greg Lopez at the top of the 8 o'clock hour?
Man.
Westword and a future governor together. I love it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. This is kind of the theme song for downtown. Ben caught stealing.
Who is that? Is that
Jane's Addiction?
Jane's Addiction.
Yeah, it's okay. Perry Farrell has done some other stuff. Poner for Pyros. Jane's Addiction was interesting. The original core, pretty good. Dave Navarro, good guitarist.
Yeah,
But-
I met. All right, I didn't meet Dave, but I came to know Dave with Red Hot Chili Peppers. I
Yeah.
didn't know Jane's Addiction.
Yeah, and again, good, interesting. They're a little esoteric as far as sound for me. You know, the entire catalog. I think they have their moments. The
Yeah.
entire catalog for me, doesn't resonate as strong as some others, but that's me. I'm a weird one.
Do you have another show out there that discusses sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, Jane's addiction, minimum wage?
We're unlike anybody else.
I know. Our minds are clearly all over the place.
Absolutely.
And so is the show. So welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hope
It
you keep
is
up.
8:01 in the Mile High City on this Friday, February 23rd. Congratulations. You made it to the end of the week. So let's let the party begin. Speaking of party animals, Blake Olson.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Appreciate it. TGIF 32 and sunny in Denver. Beautiful day ahead with temperatures in the 50s. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, 3 University of Wyoming swimmers are dead following a single vehicle crash on 287 in Larimer County. The Colorado State Patrol says an 18-year-old woman and 2 men, 21 and 22 years old, died after the Toyota RAV4 crossed both lanes and rolled down an embankment. 2 others were injured. AT&T says its wireless network has been restored.
AT&T is blaming the outage on a software error when it upgraded its network and not a cyber attack. While Verizon and T-Mobile customers also flagged service issues, those companies say that was most likely due to problems contacting customers on AT&T networks. AT&T is the 3rd largest U.S. retail wireless carrier with about 87 million subscribers. AT&T was trading down 2.5% following the outage. T-Mobile and Verizon are also trading lower as of Friday. Aaron Real, NBC News Radio.
The latest trend at the southern border is a surge of illegal immigrants coming from China. Experts say, unlike many, these people have a good shot at asylum because they're fleeing persecution.
You're talking about the ability to express themselves in terms of being Christian, the crackdown on that, being Buddhist as well, even Muslim.
University of Texas San Antonio professor John Taylor says others from China are fleeing an authoritarian government, which is also valid ground for asylum. Smugglers are charging more than $30,000 for the journey, and many say the Chinese government is sending their own citizens here. Colorado Springs Mayor Yemi Mobolade is addressing illegal immigration. He insisted the city is not facing a crisis.
Migrants might independently come to our region. We don't know that. We're anticipating.
The mayor said he doesn't know how many illegal immigrants have made it to the Springs, but those who have done so organically because it's not a sanctuary city. Former Aurora police officer Randy Rodema is appealing his conviction in the death of Elijah McClain. He was sentenced to 14 months in prison for criminally negligent homicide and 3rd-degree assault. Rodema is seeking to overturn the judgment based on several possible issues. Former President Trump discussed persecution and fighting the evil that America met in World War II at the Christian Broadcasters event last night.
They wanted to extinguish our way of life forever. It was a very bad time, but here at home, Christians knew that victory depended not only on the force of American arms, but also on the faith in American hearts.
Sports, Nuggets ran past the Wizards 130-110. Avs lost to the Wings 2-1 last night. 29 in Broomfield, 30 in Centennial, 32 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
On the VIP line, we have Patricia Calhoun, who's the editor-in-chief of Westword. She's going to join us in just a second. We're going to get to Greg Lopez from Denver, Colorado. Hello, Mr. Lopez. Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Hey, guys. How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey,
I wanted to chime in on you guys talking about small business and what's going on, with the little restaurants and so forth.
Yeah.
As you guys know, I was the director for the United States Small Business Administration here in Colorado. And so for 5 years, I was the voice and face of over 860,000 small business owners across the state. And I'm here to tell you that all these liberal rules, they're crushing small business. I used to tell people that when corporate America sneezes, small business catches pneumonia because small business cannot endure, all these pressures that are coming from the government when they think they're doing something, that they believe is going to help the community. They're actually crushing the economic vitality of the communities when they make small business close their doors. So it's very important that I would encourage everyone, go shop small, man. Go to the little stores and go to the restaurants because they're the heart and soul of every community.
Well, the article that we're talking about that Greg Lopez is referencing is in Westword. Lodo restaurant Avelina closes suddenly. And a headline I've never seen from Westword. We're going to talk with Patricia Calhoun about this in a second. But they put it right there up at the top. Liberal policies are making urban areas worse. All right, so Greg Lopez, let's say you became governor and you wanted to help these problems. What are 3 things you would do immediately in the city of Denver? Obviously, you're not the mayor of Denver. Let's say maybe you became the mayor of Denver or governor. You ran for governor. But 3 things you would do right off the bat to help small businesses.
The first thing I would do is look at all the regulations that have been passed and figure out, why they were passed and how they're being implemented. Because you got the bureaucrats, we talked about these guys, the bureaucrats have their own definition of how they're going to move forward, in applying these rules. The other thing that I would look at is making sure that we give the incentives of small business owners to be successful, encouraging customers to go and shop small. These are a lot of things that, I would be looking at. And I would also be making sure that we pass legislation that enhances small business, that makes small business thrive and succeed. Because again, if we're going to make the quality of life of any community be worth having, you must have small business owners in that community because they're resilient. They're hiring people. They're really, like I said before, the heart and soul of what America's all about.
Yeah, I live just outside Parker, so I drive through Parker. I know you were the mayor of Parker, and it is just very cool to see all of those small businesses all right along Parker Road there. So obviously you led doing that as mayor, and I think the city of Parker is thriving as a result of it. Greg, thanks so much for the call. Let's get to Patricia Calhoun. She is the editor-in-chief of Westword, which she helped found in September of 1977. She's been inducted into the Colorado Press Association Hall of Fame. Patricia, thanks so much for being on the radio program.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, my pleasure.
I got to tell you, I am a rock-ribbed conservative. Rick Santorum, Donald Trump. I've always found Westword to be very honest in their reporting, in their publications. I don't always agree with the policy decisions, but Mike Roberts, I'm always happy to give him time because he's just an honest reporter. You guys have maintained that with Westword. I just want to start off by telling you thank you for someone that may not always agree on policy issues. You have a very good publication.
Well, thank you so much. We started as an alternative weekly, but what that mostly is an alternative to all voices. So you can listen to other things. You're not in the mainstream. And that's important that we sometimes disagree with people, but we want to give everyone a fair shake, and we never want to be doctrinaire. We want to figure out what's really happening. Who's good, who's bad, who's somewhere in between.
So take me through the meeting, because, as a pulling the curtain back, there always is somewhat of a news meeting where it's like, okay, here are the stories I got, the ideas on here. I'm working on this and these. Take us through the meeting where someone said, hey, I got an idea. Let's write about the bad liberal policies and how they're impacting downtown. How did that conversation go? How did that start?
That conversation never happened. If you look
Really?
at that headline, that's a quote mark. That's a quote.
Okay.
Liberal policies. That is the owner of Avelina giving one of his many excuses. Above that is the headline that says suddenly closed, and I think offers list of excuses.
Oh, okay. So my misinterpretation. Fair enough.
He was not the only restaurateur this week to close and blame downtown not coming back, the downtown businesses not coming back so fast. And there's no question, like, you don't have a lot of people going out to lunch anymore in downtown Denver, and frankly, in a lot of places. That's kind of how business has changed and people's habits have changed. There are certainly challenges for small businesses, not just downtown, but across the country. I mean, when we started Westword, the only thing that had a worse failure rate than newspapers was restaurants, because there are so many challenges for small businesses. But in Denver, no question, the minimum wage has made it difficult. The high minimum wage, it's higher in Denver than anywhere else in the state. Also, statewide, the whole tip credit issue, which is being debated, has made it hard for people because you have to pay more to people who are also getting big tips, and then how back of the house people have problems. Downtown has just unique problems with them all, but frankly, I've been to Avelina's. I was next door to it on Wednesday night, and the people who worked next door to Avelina's didn't want to go there anymore just because they didn't like it. If you look at the comments on our page, it's pretty easy to say, blame other people for your own failures. But in this case, it was a restaurant that I think its time had come and gone.
It was probably go ahead, please.
Well, another restaurant that closed just a couple blocks away, which is Three Saints Revival, also blamed the lack of people downtown, but they had other excuses too, and we put those in. We liked that restaurant a lot more. And we happen to write about 3 different restaurants closing all in downtown this week, all with very different excuses, but only Evelina really was blaming it on liberal policies. And I think maybe they just needed cheaper prices and better food.
It's probably a combination of both. The free market will work itself out. So if the restaurant's not doing that good, blaming policies is one thing, but you got to have customers at the end of the day who love you. We're talking.
Who love you and like your service.
That's right. We're talking with Patty Calhoun. She's the editor-in-chief of Westword. They had an article out this week titled "Lodo Restaurant, Avelina Closes Suddenly," and then they quote the owner, quote, "Liberal policies are making urban areas worse." Patty, Westword's downtown's right there off of Broadway. You see it as you head into the city. I imagine you all have probably been down for almost your entire existence since 1977. What would be your message right now to city leaders on how to improve downtown?
They should be better about publicizing what is good downtown. You know, there is the whole narrative that's been on this station too, about, the whole Denver in decay, blah, 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 the encampments. There's no question there were encampments out there. I can tell you, I just was driving. I go downtown every day. I have not seen a tent since January 1st downtown. Haven't seen one. So, and I think people don't know that. I went to see Liz Cheney 2 weeks ago on a Friday night, had to walk 8 blocks to my car, did not see a single homeless person.
Interesting.
And it's really,
so they're cleaning it up.
They are definitely cleaning it up. People are slowly coming back. The mall project has been a disaster for just even perceptions, and all those little businesses on the mall, which I would say were never, since the department stores left, have never been people's big draws downtown. But still, it doesn't look great to have a big construction project in the center of town. So I think if I were the city administration, I would get every single resident of Metro Denver there laying bricks and finishing off the mall.
I was talking to a business leader just yesterday. We were talking about that. He said when the mall was originally built in like the 80s, it took 9 months or something like that. And this continued process, and they didn't do it. This continued improvement process. They didn't do it kind of like block by block. They took out the entire mall all at once. And now it's been a few years that they've been working on this. Is that right?
Yeah, they really started it. All the plans preceded COVID, but the construction started with COVID. So a lot of people didn't really realize what was going on until suddenly they were going back downtown, and all they saw was wire fencing and ripped up places, and it was hard to get to the few spots they would want to go to. So that has absolutely been the biggest challenge. It's the biggest challenge remaining downtown.
Patricia, one of the complaints that was leveled in this article is that people just aren't working downtown either. I mean, obviously, one of the concerns is crime and homelessness and stuff like that. But a lot of people just work from home now. COVID kind of changed that. Do you think Denver will ever return to, high occupancy rates in those businesses, in those buildings down there? Or has everything shifted? And Bill talked about this yesterday. Maybe they should move to adjusting those buildings to more residential.
Well, they're certainly talking about putting more residential in those buildings. I think the occupancy, the number of people downtown, I think the vacancy rate for the buildings is about 34%. We saw that before in the late 80s. I think the number of people now were coming to their offices that are leased, it's like at 60%. But people don't go out to lunch anymore. I mean, and that is probably true if you go to the tech center and you go where people are working, or you go to Cherry Creek. There just isn't the same kind of going out to lunch. So restaurants and small businesses have to adjust to lifestyle changes anyway. But I think a lot of it is perception. And I would challenge you. I will take you out on the downtown some evening.
Are you paying? That's the only thing I care
I'll
about.
pay.
I had to throw that in there, Patty. So why do you know?
I don't think you two are
Yeah.
big carousers, so I think it'll be pretty cheap.
That's true. Yeah, we are not. I am a very, very cheap date. Ask my wife. So what do you think if you're talking about Denver City Council, you're talking about downtown Denver, you're talking about the messaging not being on point to bring people downtown. Let's explore that messaging a little bit more. Why do you feel that the message isn't getting out if you're not seeing as many homeless? And why is there a concern, definitely in the suburbs and outside of Denver proper, that downtown is a mess? And I have to say that when I drive through there, you may not see the homeless as you're walking in your car late at night, but there are times, and every time that I drive through downtown, I run into pockets of them. They're not ubiquitous, but they're there.
How often are you downtown?
Oh, not as often as you. So my experience and my wealth of information is vastly limited compared to yours. I would say maybe once or twice a month is where I get in that area. And again, not necessarily going into the core of downtown proper either. It sometimes is on the extremes, on the just outside, running down Spear and things like that.
Well, and it's easy for me. I mean, I do the show on Colorado, the PBS 12.
Yeah.
Every Thursday, and I'm driving down the same street, so I can see exactly how Champa Street and Welton Street and California Street change. And I was driving by when it was blocks of encampments. And you may recall the pop-up encampment bar. There was a homeless bar that got set up and then got busted. Drove by there. It was a very entertaining spot during the day. I wouldn't have wanted to have been there at night. All that's gone. It's completely cleared out. So, and that is since late last fall. So if you haven't been on some of those streets, you need to see it. Now, there's no question, huge challenges dealing with people who are homeless, dealing with the migrant issues, dealing with the small business challenges and big business challenges. Anyone who's tried to hire people knows that there are huge challenges facing us, but you don't label blaming it all on liberal policies when your food wasn't very good doesn't get anyone anywhere. But the city needs to do a better job. So I would say, and I told this to Hancock, and I've said it to Johnston's people, they should be putting out a message every day, whether it's a tweet, an Instagram, showing someone who's out and about. In downtown, where's a great play? Where's great live music? Who's at this restaurant at 11 o'clock at night? What does it really look like? And people aren't seeing that. They're just talking about it.
We're talking with Patricia Calhoun. She's the editor-in-chief of Westword. Now, earlier this week, Patricia, we hosted Danielle Jurinsky on, at-large city council member in Aurora, about the differences between Aurora and Denver with dealing with the migrant issues. And in many cases, you're going to have a big experiment take place right next door to each other. You have a city that says we're willing to cut services to our own residents in order to address the migrant issue. And over in Aurora, you have a city that says we're going to prioritize our citizens first. We're not going to stop charities if they want to help people, but we're not going to be, as as Danielle said, cutting senior citizen swim time in order to help with the migrant crisis. So in light of this experiment that's going to take place, what do you think the difference is going to be between the two cities?
Well, I think the big challenges are going to be if a municipality suddenly has thousands of people bust there. If they show up, what do you do? Do you bus them somewhere else? I mean, in Denver, one of the major tactics they've used is buy bus tickets to where they want to go, which has been, the smartest. Not ship them unwanted to another place, but just say, where were you heading? Go. And it's a cheap way to deal with the influx. But what do you do when they land on your doorstep? Do you throw them out? Do you let them camp? What do you do? And I guess that's the first question. If they're there, Aurora has this huge influx of Mauritanian refugees that no one even could figure out where they were coming from, and they're dealing with that now. So there will be challenges hitting every municipality as the migrants who have come up for whatever reason start spreading out, and they will.
That's interesting. Now, we have a texter texted, and I just wanted to bring the conversation to the table. They feel that the cleanup and taking care of the homeless is because we're rolling into an election year, that we have to present the face, just like, when the president comes to town, whoever it is, all of a sudden all the homeless
the
are moved
all-star
out.
game.
Yeah. Do you think there's any merit to that? Do you think that maybe this could be in part because of an election season, or is there something else motivating it, or has Denver actually decided they are going to try to right the ship downtown? What do you think?
Well, politics always play into it, but let's remember Mike Johnston's main campaign platform was that he was going to deal with the homelessness issue. Out of the 17 candidates, or however many Denver could vote for last April, and Mike Johnston won, that was his primary campaign. We are going to get the homeless off the streets and deal with it. So that was a definite decision by Denver voters. Now, is it something that Mike Johnston wanted to push as a future for politics? I mean, he wasn't doing it in 2023, 2022, and 2023, thinking about the 24 election. But that was his campaign promise. And the people of Denver, if he hadn't taken action, and he's been criticized plenty for how he's done it, we're keeping a close eye on him, but he did keep that campaign promise. And that's what Denver was asking for. I think if he hadn't, I think if the encampments had continued as strong as they were in the neighborhoods they were in, we might have seen a recall election. So I think people have to put it in perspective. Nothing he's doing right now is easy. I mean, it's not easy making cuts. No one is happy with it. And he's going to have to deal with that too.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought that was, again, I'm outside the Denver proper. So the idea that he's making the focus. Now, looking at the idea of the homeless issue, the restaurant complaining about wages, have you seen in your travels in downtown, have you seen a large number of restaurants or businesses that are closing? And also give us the temperature about the office spaces downtown. Are there office buildings? Because you're a longtime downtown Denver person. Have you seen many of the office spaces? They're talking about a 25% vacancy rate. Are you seeing that impact as well?
Well, sure. I mean, as I said, it's like it was in the late 80s with the oil bust, where there are office buildings that are empty. You also see road construction, which makes it tough. I was on Wazee Street Wednesday night, and I could make a U-turn in front of Union Station. Very illegal, but also very impossible, like 10 years ago, because it would be so bustling. But we do it every year for probably 20 years. We have tallied how many restaurants open and how many restaurants close. And I have to tell you, the ratio is almost unchanged. So you have a lot of people who are really excited to start new things. And I'm talking Metro Denver, not just downtown. People who are really excited to open things, and then they close. So that ratio hasn't changed that much. I think the challenge is finding the businesses that will work in a downtown right now, where the heart of it is under construction.
Patricia Calhoun, editor-in-chief at Westword Magazine. Thank you. Thank you for, by the way, the story that covered Bill and I too today. This week. So Mike Roberts did a story on Bill and I and our initial debate over Taylor Swift that helped form the show.
Yeah.
So
as Mike
you
said,
can go to
like it
Westword
today,
and read that.
Blame Taylor, as Mike
Right.
said. Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll invite Michael out when I take you out on the town too, and you guys are not getting off it. We're going to have a downtown excursion.
Oh, that'll be fun.
I think that would be helpful. We used to host the Western Conservative Summit down there. We did it last year at the convention center. The biggest feedback we had from our attendees is they don't want to go down here anymore. And it was heartbreaking because when we did the summit 10, 15 years ago, people would go to the summit, then they go out and walk around 16th Street Mall, and they'd go out to the bars and restaurants, and they would have a lot of fun. And what I've noticed is that the people hold up in the hotel now. They don't want to go outside. They feel concerned. And for a few years there, we had a lot of protesters. Antifa would come down and protest us, and there were security concerns and things like that. But we're going to go up to the Westin and Westminster this year. But I would love to get back to those days where a June summer evening, you could go to the summit, you could watch some speeches there, some political speeches, and then you could go out to 16th Street Mall and enjoy a few hours out there. I'd love to get back to that. The point is not that we don't like Denver. We don't want to support Denver. But if we can't sell tickets because people don't want to go downtown, then that's a reality that the leadership of Denver's got to take into consideration. So
understood. And I remember when you talked about moving to the Gaylord, and I'm also guessing Gaylord might have given you a good deal from the downtown center, talking about it. And that was at the peak of the bad era downtown when COVID, when there were a lot of homeless. No question. I'm telling you, you need to see the reality now.
That's great. I appreciate live reporting from downtown Denver from the front lines. Patricia Calhoun inviting people to come back downtown. I appreciate her willing to come on and talk. That's what I love about this show is that you're going to get not just hard right commentary. You're going to have a good conversation. We invite you to be a part of it. Would you go downtown now? Did Patricia,
if
encourage
Patty's
you?
paying, I'm going.
Yeah, right. But did she change your mind? Are you willing to go downtown? Look, there's a theory I have to city management. You can have one of two people occupy your city. They will not occupy the same space at the same time. It's like a physics. It's like a sign of the universe. You will not have drug dealers and users and young families occupy the same space. So you as a city leader need to make a decision on who's going to be there. If you're like our city, we want young families, then you have to make sure that the drug users are out. You have to prioritize that. You got to tell your police, we are not going to have them here. They need to leave. This city will not allow. Or you can go, you know what? We're going to defer to drug users, and the families will naturally not come downtown. And you see that happening in the city of Denver. So if Mike Johnston is trying to now prioritize 16th Street Mall and families and people coming downtown, then, we'll see if it works. I'm afraid he's just put them in hotel rooms. Let's get to Gay Ribble here. Eliminate the stress and uncertainty of selling your home while still getting top dollar with Gay Ribble and Empower Home Team with their Keller Williams Sell. Their Sell with Certainty program guarantees your home will sell without ever having to list it, and at the same time, getting you top dollar. Your home is a significant asset, and choosing the right team to help you sell it can be the difference in thousands of dollars in your pocket. I highly recommend Gay Ribble and the Empower Home Team, the realtors I trust. Empower Home Team provides exceptional service, invaluable advice, and employs unique systems to maximize the money you can get from your home. Getting an offer above your home's asking price is great, but you're leaving money on the table. By not working with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home Team, Gay and her experts get their clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home Team. Their exclusive database is filled with pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase. Take the stress and hassle out of selling your home while getting the best price. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home Team will sell your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home Team. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and Empower Home Team now. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. Neil, we'll get to you in just a second. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, 8:35 in the Mile High City. Good morning. We just had Patricia Calhoun on. She's encouraging you to come on back down to Denver.
Yeah.
Things are improving. Give it a try. It's Friday night. Go down and enjoy a restaurant down there. We talked to her because Westword published this article. Lodo restaurant Avelina closes suddenly. And then they quote the business owner, "Liberal policies are making urban areas worse." And she was, promoting Mike Johnston cleaning up the city and the homelessness and the drug problems and stuff down there. She doesn't give a pass on the problems still down on 16th Street Mall, but she said, look, things are getting better. Come on down. Do you believe her? You ready to give downtown a chance? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. We are not taking the Western Conservative Summit downtown this year yet. It's still got to improve. Our attendees overwhelmingly told us they would never attend this event again if we held it downtown. So we're going to the Westin out in Westminster this year. By the way, that event is June 7th and 8th. Tickets on sale at westernconservativesummit.com, westernconservativesummit.com. Let's go to Blake. Blake, what are you working on for the top of the hour for us?
Yeah, that was fascinating, by the way. Great discussion. Loved it. Let's see. The U.S. imposing over 500 new sanctions on Russia. We'll discuss that due to the death of Alexei Navalny, of course. We'll hear from the president who met with his wife. AT&T says that the wireless network has been restored and it was not a cyber attack. In Laramie, they are mourning the loss of 3 student athletes, 3 swimmers who died in a crash on 287. Sad story there. The South Carolina Republican primary is tomorrow, and Nikki Haley is still running. So she's just holding out hope, I guess, to see what happens with the former president. And we talked about China last hour. We may discuss that a little bit at the top of the hour, and the border crossings of Chinese who are seeking asylum, at least some of them. That and much more coming up at the top of the hour.
I appreciate it, Blake. Thanks so much. All right, let's get to the phone line. Neil Wheat Ridge, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Neil.
Hey, how are you?
We are great. What's on your mind?
Hey, you guys were yakking about 16th Street Mall and the changing all the time like there's construction. I used to drive the mall shuttle for RTD, and I spent like 3 years doing that back in about 2000, 2001, that time frame. And they were always something going on in construction. They would shut off a street or two, and you'd have to transition your driving down through there. Those bricks were constantly being replaced. I think they would go 6 to 9 months, and then they're blocking that particular block off to do them again. So it's to say that there's not a lot of construction at times. It's always been a construction zone, maybe more so now, but I can't remember a time that there weren't repair trucks and a crane or two down there.
Yeah, I think I haven't been down to 16th Street Mall, but I think when they decided to redo it, I think they did. I don't know these details, but I think some guy who's a pretty prominent business guy I was having lunch with yesterday said when they did it in the 80s, they got the whole thing done in 9 months. The whole thing done in 9 months. They're now on 2 years, and they decided to take the entire mall and try to update it at once. And so when you go down there, the entire thing is just made up of this chain link fencing and broken concrete and all. It looks like, Kandahar.
But even between the 8,000 to today, there was always something going on. They never did fix it or make it where it was self-sustaining without something happening to it for any period of time. You might have a week here or a month there, but as a whole, I would say that's the quality of I don't know if it's the quality of the contractors, but the traffic has not changed. I mean, maybe the type of people that are down there has changed, but it's still a very busy place. And so they never really made it to be long going without some kind of construction going on.
Yeah. Neil, I appreciate the call. Thanks. Neil's line is going to be open 303-696-1971 if you want to give us a call. I think, too, I remember reading an article that they couldn't even give away retail space down on 16th Street Mall right now. They were trying to provide benefits, but you'd have to pay so much for security. Look, it just goes back to what I said prior to the commercial break. You're going to have one or two. You're going to have nice, law-abiding people, or you're going to have criminals, and you're going to defer to one or the other, and you need to make it a point as a city leader to prioritize one of them. Let's go to Gary, Denver. Line 2, you're on the Jeff and Bill show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Gary.
Oh, hi, Jeff and Bill. I'm enjoying your show.
Thank you.
I work downtown.
Gary, you should probably see somebody about that, honestly. I'm just saying. There's help. There are groups. There are people you can talk to. But okay, continue.
Although I have thought you should change it to fact and fiction. And I won't assign either of them.
Depends on the day, right?
Yeah, it does. It depends on the day. I think it is very malleable, but that is an excellent point, sir. We will take that under consideration. It should be the subtitle. I like that.
But, I worked downtown pretty much full time for a couple of decades. And I think people will say the primary reason that downtown is not populated. Some people will blame an administration or the homeless because it then becomes a political tool. But I know exactly why downtown isn't attracting people, because everything changed in 2020. I always worked in my office for 20 years. And once I got used to working at home, I learned I'm more productive. My quality of life is better. I don't need to deal with traffic. I don't need to deal with parking. It has absolutely, if there were no homeless downtown and it was perfectly clean, I still wouldn't go downtown. The world has changed. And it's not only in Denver, it's everywhere. Just read the Wall Street Journal, read the New York Times.
Gary, I got a question for you. Do you think that so like, for instance, Facebook was like, we're going to let people work at home. And then they changed and said, no, y'all got to get back into the office. I know on like driving and those types of things, you kind of catch up productivity wise, but do you think business owners are realizing you got to have people in office? They're focused. They're not distracted by what's happening at home or taking the dog out to a walk or fixing a kitchen cabinet or something like that. Do you think that's going to maintain, or do you think business owners are like, we got to get them back into the office to maximize their productivity?
I think they're realizing people are more productive at home because, they're not working less. You've got your computer set up all night and all day. And, I can go out, and I do. I can go out and instead of spending money for a sandwich on the 16th Street Mall, I could go for a walk around the park and I feel better.
Yeah.
I think it's permanent. And employers, it's not about productivity. I really believe people are more productive at home. Now, some employers are old school and they think FaceTime is important. And for some it is. Especially for younger people, FaceTime might be important if you're looking to move up the ladder. But I think this change is not going to go away anytime soon. And, there's going to be less of a need, like Billy was saying. It's not about minimum wage. It's about the demand isn't there. And if you can't do the quantity, you're going to go out of business. And that's too bad. We just need less sandwich shops downtown. That's the reality.
Gary from Denver, thank you for the call. Gary's line is going to be open 303-696-1971. We're talking Patricia Calhoun, editor-in-chief of Westword, was on. They had an article out that said, quoting a business owner, liberal policies are make urban areas worse. And then she said that, Mike Johnson's cleaning it up downtown. You should give it another shot. Would you go downtown this weekend and take your wife or
I don't know,
boyfriend downtown and be
I'm
willing
talking
to go
Patty.
down?
She offered to bring us downtown. I'm talking to her, see if we can do that little field trip. And if we do, we'll bring, the little cell phones along. We'll take some videos. We'll share some stuff with you guys. And and we'll see what it's like. And I appreciate Gary coming to the table with the idea that, yes, there are market forces involved, that sometimes downtown we don't need so many sandwich shops. Sometimes downtown we don't need a Starbucks across the street from a Starbucks. I was always fascinated by that. to figure out how they would allow that. But still, that maybe we don't do that, and that the market forces will take care of themselves. And I like
Look at
Patty.
you, free markets. Well, then let's get rid of minimum wage.
I know that is again. If anybody read the article about us in Westword, then you understand that I am a paradox at times. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense. And yeah, that's one of them. I agree. That is absolutely one of them. And thank you for pointing it out.
Chris Aurora, line 3. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Chris.
Morning.
Good morning, guys. You guys are doing a great job this morning.
Oh, thanks.
I've really enjoyed your show, but on the other hand, it has infuriated me.
Excellent.
and the reason why
our job is done then, sir.
Yeah, no, I worked in downtown for almost 2 decades, and I think some of what Gary said is right, but I think that is not looking at what the true cause of what downtown is going through, and the true cause of what it's going through is that you have an administration that's soft on crime, and I think the theory that you can't have 2 different types of cohorts occupying downtown at the same time. You can't have law-abiding citizens and criminals occupying the same space at the same time. It just won't do it.
Yep. Good point.
The law-abiding citizen will go elsewhere. I do. I refuse to go downtown unless I have a court appearance. I refuse to go down there. It is a mess. Parking's terrible. It is expensive. And the reason why it's expensive is because of inflation. And why is it expensive? Because policies by this administration and previous administrations have made it so expensive. Why would you go down there? So people do workarounds by working at home because they don't want to pay the money to go downtown. Now, Patricia Calhoun, she's entertaining. She's very smart. She's also very deceptive. And here's why. The mayor did run on a platform of getting rid of the homeless or dealing with the homeless problem. But this isn't just a homeless problem. This is an illegal immigrant problem. And it's an illegal immigrant problem that he has refused to solve. He's kept the same policies in place for the last 4 mayors. And the last 4 mayors declared Denver a sanctuary city. So for him to say he's dealing with a homeless problem, that's part of it. But he's also dealing with an illegal immigrant problem, and that's the reason why he's having to cut back on his budget. So when Patricia Calhoun says, you need to give the mayor credit, he's doing hard things. No, he's not. All he's doing is he's keeping the same policies in place, which have destroyed Denver for the last 40 years.
Now, Chris, I have a question for you. Now, functionally, as far as the government, one of the difficulties that we're having dealing with the illegal immigration is the vast majority of the immigrants are not crossing at night or during the day at the border. They're showing up at ports of entry, and they're declaring asylum. As soon as they declare asylum, again, whether or not it is true, after they declare it until it's adjudicated, they are technically, and I'm using air quotes, technically legal citizens in the country until that case is adjudicated. So that's part of the problem is how is the government, once these people that we can say are illegal immigrants claim asylum, you then have to treat them as temporary citizens.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there is nothing that says you have to do your or serve your asylum or claim your asylum in the state of Colorado, right?
No, not here,
but in California.
You claim it when you get to a port of
Trump's
entry.
Trump's response was, if
port
you're
of
going to
entry.
do an asylum claim, you have to do it in the country of your origin.
Yeah, but
you can't travel all the way here.
I understand that, but that's a technicality. We accept that claim regardless.
Technicality.
No, it is, but it doesn't deal with the functionality of the real world at this point. We can talk about if we should change that, but I'm talking about the real world right now. And Chris was talking about the illegal immigration and going back for several administrations. I think he has a good point, but what I want to ask him about is the difficulty that the government is put in because of how slow our immigration, especially the adjudication process of that asylum seeker, it works. They have to claim it at a port of entry, so it's claimed California, Texas, all the border states. But we then have to honor that. How do we get around that? What do we do with that?
You put them on a bus and you send them to Martha's Vineyard. You send them to Silicon Valley. You send them to every liberal haven, which is declared a sanctuary city. You can send them there. I'm not saying you have to deport them, but what I am saying is you don't have to do it here.
You don't have to keep
them
here.
And that is the thing. And the thing is that Abbott and to some sense DeSantis, they made immigration a 50-state problem or a 48-state continental state problem. And
Chris,
my response is that you put them on a bus and you get them out of here.
Chris, appreciate the call. Thanks so much, Chris from Aurora.
I appreciate that.
303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. The United States has once again landed on the moon. An unmanned spacecraft launched by Texas-based Intuitive Machines landed on the moon's south pole late on Thursday. It's the first time in 50 years that any U.S. spaceship has touched down on Earth's satellite, and the very first lunar landing conducted by a private company. Intuitive Machines says landing on the moon is only part of the mission, and that it now hopes to conduct experiments in space. The next human moon landing is expected towards the end of this decade. AT&T's network went down for many of its customers across the United States Thursday morning, leaving customers unable to place calls, text, or access internet. Tara Magena explains.
By late morning, the company announced that the majority of its network had been repaired, while Verizon and T-Mobile users experienced some network disruptions. They were less widespread. T-Mobile and Verizon say that their networks were not impacted by AT&T's outage, suggesting that customers experiencing issues may have had difficulty contacting AT&T users. The problems extended from New York, Boston, and Atlanta on the East Coast to Houston, Dallas, Los Angeles, Seattle, and San Francisco, and even to Montreal in Canada.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
Kind of a laid-back Friday afternoon song. I feel like I'd be walking down the street of Denver trying to avoid being mugged, but
Exactly.
like a laid-back song.
Yeah. Like, don't tase me, bro. Yeah.
You're on the Jeff and Bill show. Let's go to Nick, line one. You're listening to Jeff and Bill, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, Nick. What's
Nick,
on your
how are you?
mind?
Well, I have a lot of things on my mind, but the major one, because it hits me in the face every single day, every time I drive down through downtown Denver and I drive north on Colorado Boulevard at every major intersection, these migrants are coming out of the woodwork. They're standing on the in front of the traffic, trying to wash your windows, and they get belligerent about it. I can't even wash my car at a car wash because they're surrounded that area. They're trying to wash people's cars, and they don't take no for an answer. So obviously the problem has come home to roost, and it really boils down to one thing: how bad do things have to get before enough people wake up to reality?
Yep.
And I don't have an answer for that. I mean, if I were living in San Francisco, for instance, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and I saw what has happened in the last, let's say, 5, 6, 7 years, I would think that my brain, even though I'm not Albert Einstein, would put 2 and 2 together, that the policies that have been followed have produced this. And so for some people, for some reason, there's a disconnect. Until it really,
I mean, Nick, as Dennis Prager says, if they thought through the consequences, they'd be Republicans. They just reelect different Democrats. That's all they do. So like in Denver, for instance, there was a Republican that ran for mayor, but he didn't go anywhere. They just elected a different Democrat. That's where they're stuck. And they continue to just watch their city spiral down.
Now, again, it boils down to how bad does it have to get? Now, let's say you were you saved your money and you did all the right things and you made all the right moves and you bought yourself a nice house, and all of a sudden you wait in a nice neighborhood, and all of a sudden you wake up and you find out the school gymnasium has been taken over by migrants, and there are 15 people in front of your lawn, and it's not a damn thing.
Nick, thanks for the call. You're breaking up there a little bit. We'll continue this conversation. Steffan Tubbs joining us at the top of the hour.
He knows something about this.
His new movie about fentanyl overdoses. You're not going to want to miss that. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, 9 a.m. in the Miami City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado.
Morning.
Denver has been the center of the entire conversation. There's so many news stories we haven't even gotten to. Democrats giving themselves a pay raise, for example. But Patricia Calhoun joined us at the top of the 8 o'clock hour to get into her take on Denver. Even Westword's publishing articles that are quoting business owners. Liberal policies are making urban areas worse. We covered, that story pretty much almost all.
Yeah,
all the
yeah, I like your stuff, and that's pretty much it.
Look at here going, man. And the call. So the question was, would you be willing to go downtown anymore?
Yeah.
Would you? And Patricia Calhoun saying, come downtown, give it a try. But business owners are like, nah, we're out of here. So we're going to get to Steffan Tubbs here in just a second. He's going to be on the show with his new trailer and new movie coming out. So you're not going to want to miss that. Let's get to Blake Olson.
Yeah, the trailer is awesome, and the documentary movie is going to be outstanding. I've seen it. You need to take a look at it. 37 and sunny in Denver, expecting another perfect day with highs in the 50s. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the U.S. imposing over 500 new sanctions on Russia. The Treasury Department says their aim is to punish Moscow's war machine and those being held responsible for the death of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. The sanctions come a day ahead of the 2-year date of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. President Biden met with Navalny's wife, Yulia. Unfortunately, he called her Yolanda.
This morning I had the honor of meeting with Alexei Navalny's wife and daughter. One thing that was made clear to me is that Yolanda is she's gonna continue to fight he had underway.
AT&T says its wireless network has been restored after a widespread service outage impacted thousands of customers. AT&T is blaming the outage on a software error when it upgraded its network and not a cyber attack. South Carolina Republican primary is tomorrow. The state's former governor, Nikki Haley, is still running, hanging in there. Former President Trump has maintained a double-digit lead. The latest trend at the southern border is a surge of illegal immigrants coming from China. Experts say, unlike many, these people have a good shot at asylum because they're fleeing persecution or an authoritarian government. John Taylor, a professor in San Antonio.
You're talking about the ability to express themselves in terms of being Christian, the crackdown on that, being Buddhist as well, even Muslim.
3 University of Wyoming swimmers are dead following a single vehicle crash on 287 in Larimer County. The Colorado State Patrol says an 18-year-old woman and 2 men, 21 and 22 years old, died after the Toyota RAV4 crossed both lanes and rolled down an embankment. 2 others were injured. You heard Jeff and Bill discussing an article in Westword quoting a restaurant owner that is actually closing his restaurant, saying liberal policies making urban areas worse. But Westword editor-in-chief Patty Calhoun says that she thinks Denver is improving.
They should be better about publicizing what is good downtown. I have not seen a tent since January 1st downtown.
Greg Lopez, who used to be a former small business director, chimed in.
Small business cannot endure all these pressures that are coming from the government when they think they're doing something, that they believe is going to help the community. They're actually crushing the economic vitality of the communities when they make small business close their doors.
Well, former President Trump at the Christian Broadcasters last night, he's ready to go.
On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto our children.
In sports, Nuggets run past the Wizards 130-110. Avs lost to the Wings 2-1 last night. And CU plays host to Utah tomorrow night. It is 31 in Golden, 34 in Lone Tree, 37 in Denver. I leave you with this entitled White Liberal Women at it again on X. The libs of TikTok strike again. Jeff and Bill continue with my man Steffan Tubbs ahead. Blake Olson. News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Get you in that Friday afternoon mood, Friday morning mood.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's 9:06 in the Mile High City.
Some good Daft
on
Punk.
This Friday, February 23rd. In light of Bill's report, I think we have a new motto for the city of Denver. We'll have those women screaming, followed by "I haven't seen a tent since January."
That's great.
Come to Denver, where you haven't seen a tent since January. Oh man! All right, you know him. He's part of the DNA of 710 KNUS. Steffan Tubbs is on the line with us. He's got a new film out, Devastated. Let's play the trailer, Mr. Bill.
Sunday, February 20, 2022.
Address the location of your emergency, please.
Just woke up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Hey, officers, they're up here. All of them.
Ma'am.
Oh.
There's no blood. There's no guns. There's no brain matter. There's none of that. The positions of the deceased, they died where they stood and fell to the ground exactly where they stood.
She was lying face down on her bed. I turned over and I started to see purple.
So here in Denver, we do about 1,000 autopsies a year. 2/3 at least involve fentanyl plus or minus other drugs.
It's one try and die, one pill and die, one line and die. It's Russian roulette with 6 bullets in the chamber.
It's not a red or a blue issue. It's a red, white, and blue issue. All Americans are being impacted.
I lost my 14-year-old son, Alexander, to fentanyl poisoning.
My daughter, Allie, she was always...
So that's just a hint of the trailer that Steffan Tubbs has up on his YouTube channel right now about the new film Devastated. As you get a sense from that trailer, it is about the fentanyl crisis that our communities are facing. Steffan Tubbs, brother, thank you so much for being on the program.
Jeff, Bill, good morning, and thank you so much for having me. The film is still in the works. It's coming out. We'll have premieres around the state coming up in May. It's absolutely going to be free of charge. We want to, just as the Mexican cartels in Colorado have flooded fentanyl into this state, we want to flood social media, local TV. I'm going to beg, steal, and borrow to try to get this everywhere we can at zero cost. I want to get this in every classroom in Colorado. As you heard part of it in the trailer, guys, this is not a red or blue issue. This is a red, white, and blue issue. And, by the time people go to bed tonight in Colorado, another 5, perhaps maybe 10 Coloradans will be dead due to fentanyl poisoning. And it's the least that we can do, and I appreciate your support very much.
So what's the movie about? Give us the message that's communicated through your documentary.
Well, one of the parents said it best, and it may sound grandiose and on a Friday morning who wants to be depressed as we head into a weekend, but guess what? It's happening whether we like it or not any day of the week. But the message is we're losing a generation. That's the message. And how do we combat that? This is, again, as best we can as my documentary film company, as best we can, we're presenting the facts. It is not our fault. Just like with other films that we've done, namely Denver and Decay, Jeff and Bill, as you guys know. It's not our fault as filmmakers if there's a certain side of the political aisle that does not want to, sit down with us and talk about reality. With all due respect to my longtime friend, Patty Calhoun, I guarantee if I had the time, I could find a tent in downtown Denver this morning somewhere.
Yeah.
And I love Patty.
And there's somebody using
we need some reality here.
Yeah. And I bet somebody's using fentanyl in it. I mean, Steffan, you now work with law enforcement. What are you seeing on the front lines? Give people that are just dropping their kids off at school right now, heading into work, laying out the day, getting their chores done. What are you seeing that they may not know about?
Are you ready for the disclaimer first?
Yes.
I should have this. We need to get Chris Carroll, the guru at 710. If I ever come on, he needs to do the fast talking disclaimer. I am talking to you as Steffan Tubbs, former host at KNUS. Nothing to do with my current employer.
Yeah.
This film is not endorsed by DEA. This film is not supported by the United States government. There were zero funds used. The reason that I was able to do this film is because, guys, we completed it last year, long before my opportunity at DEA came about. So I've got to say that because it's some thin ice for obvious reasons. But I can tell you this, I think this is the end of my 6th or 7th week. And yes, I do miss my show occasionally. I barely miss you guys. But I'm just kidding. What I've seen is probably what I said to George the last time I was on the station was, I've seen firsthand what the men and women of the Rocky Mountain Field Division of the Drug Enforcement Administration do every single day. I've got to be the guy now that says to even though you're my friends, guys like you, I can't get into details of the investigation. I never thought I would be actually saying that because I'm always the pain in the ass trying to get all the detail. But let's just say there was a major fentanyl bust that involved all kinds of other drugs and weapons. And we're talking, it was bad. Okay. And it was yesterday morning. It was about 25 hours ago in a place not too far from where you two are sitting right now. And that is going on all the time. And frankly, guys, I don't know if, say yesterday, where there were hundreds of thousands of fentanyl pills seized on the streets of the metro area, I don't even know if it makes the news.
Wow. And that is sad.
That's
that
what
really
I'm
is
seeing.
sad.
I mean, are we controlled by cartels?
Well,
I need a bigger check then, honestly.
Right. I mean,
really.
yeah. I mean, is this state just inundated with cartel activity around fentanyl right now?
Yes. Fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine. One thing that I remember probably when I got on my fentanyl soapbox, and again, the reason I'm doing this, we are trying to save a family from going through the most agonizing pain that it could ever imagine. And my boss at DEA, Dave Oleski, he says all the time, there's no stigma with a pill. There is with shooting up, a needle between your toes or, in your arm, smoking something, inhaling something. But people take vitamins and people take their ibuprofen every day. Kids do that. The cartel, to get back to that, guys, the Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels are alive and well, thank you very much, in Denver and across Colorado and across the Rocky Mountain West and obviously across the country. Anybody, when I got on this fentanyl thing, at least on on KNUS, and thank God I've been able to talk about it on a lot of other stations since I left KNUS, but there's always my home. And look, the fact of the matter is the cartels are operating. They don't care if they kill their client base. That's collateral, or part of their client base. It's collateral damage. And ladies and gentlemen, and Bill and Jeff, you know this. I've preached to you on and off the air about it. They're targeting your children. They're targeting young adults. But it is fentanyl poisoning is the leading cause of death in this country, 18 to 45.
Yeah, and
That's
you're
a huge swath.
And you're absolutely right about them targeting the kids. because that is the market that is ripe. We can all put ourselves in that time machine and understand in that teenage to early 20 years, that cloak of invincibility that you have, that idea that this one pill, this one choice isn't going to be impactful long-term or even end my life. And one of the things watching the beginning of your trailer, Steffan, that hit me was just the emotion of the mother first. And I'm going to break up here. But the other one is the idea that is just the one time. When I was coming up through school, there was a real stark fear about certain drugs. The idea that you do the PCP, you do things like that, it can change you. That one instance. There was a fear of drugs when I was growing up, and we don't have
because
that
you could
anymore.
become addicted.
Yes.
The fear was, I don't want to be addicted. Now, a half a pill one time. DEA has a wonderful thing, and I'm telling you, if you're a parent, grandparent, I don't care how old you are, if you have a heartbeat, you need to be on this because it's going on all around you, and it may be invisible to you, but trust me, it's going to hit a family in Colorado tonight, right between the eyes. Go to DEA.gov/one pill. One pill, to your point, Bill, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but to your point, half a pill, one pill. It's one time. It's one time, and it's the most, it's a fatal mistake. And we're the youngest child that we have in our film devastated Colorado's fentanyl disaster.
We're talking with
14 years old.
Wow.
We're talking with Steffan Tubbs, filmmaker of the new film that'll be coming out, Devastated. You can go to his Twitter account, just type in Steffan Tubbs into X, and his Twitter, I think it's SW Tubbs.
SW Tubbs.
His actual...
go to our YouTube. Yeah, Jeff, the easiest is to go to our YouTube channel, and that's just type in Mountain Time Media or Devastated Mountain Time Media, and please, I know you get begged all the time listening to radio, I get it, but this is important. Share this trailer. And Jeff, thank you, and Bill for letting me have the time to to talk a little bit about it, because it's so important.
I'd love to ask you a few more questions here. You see it in the trailer, these parents, right? This is where the real, every loss of life is a tragedy, but you see these real tragic stories of kids that look like their whole future's ahead of them. Great kids, black, white, Hispanic, Asian. It's affecting all of them. What do you think those parents would say to other parents right now? If they had a moment, a microphone, a megaphone, which you've provided for them, what do you think the message they're saying to other parents is?
You have the chance to prevent a tragedy. I don't. That's what they would say.
Wow.
The time has passed for them to try to get their loved one back. Bill, you mentioned, the mom that you heard in the front part that we just played. That's Mickey Sadivi. Mm-hmm. What an incredible woman. What incredible grief. Being in her home, walking up the stairs with her, and having her relive, and none of these parents, by the way, none of their arms were twisted. No one was paid, so therefore they did it. No, they did it because they want their grief to stop at their doorstep instead of going to somebody, one of you listening right now. And again, the cartels are brilliant business people. This is a billions of dollars a year industry. Jalisco and the Sinaloa cartels, they're manufacturing this stuff. Yes, precursor chemicals from China. We all know it by now. It's almost cliche. China to Mexico, up through the border, and right up I-25 to Colorado, and then dispersed there. These things are costing less than 3 to 4 cents a pill. And if you go up to northern Montana, these things are selling $50, $60 a pill. That's a hell of an investment. You can turn $20,000 worth of fentanyl powder into $2 million. Do you think they care if your kid dies? Because $20,000 to $2 million. You think they care if your kid dies as a result trying to feel good on a Friday night in Lodo? They don't.
What is the feel good? I mean, they don't get high. What is the attraction to fentanyl? Is it an opioid? Is it an opioid?
Absolutely. It is a synthetic opioid, and that's why it's so prevalent. People say all the time, I don't understand the explosion.
Yeah.
This is not something that you need a growing season. This is not a field where you need to cultivate. This is not, in Sinaloa, Mexico, you're having these, hundreds of thousands of hectares of marijuana. You don't need poppy fields in Afghanistan or Colombia. This is made with chemicals.
And
That's
it's
why
cheap.
it's so prevalent.
It's also cheap to make. The cheap to manufacture is a huge thing.
Right.
That's why it's
but
being put
I
into the more
guess,
expensive drugs.
so like fentanyl was first used in surgeries and stuff like that. When I've gone in and had a colonoscopy or whatever, right? They kind of put you out. I think they give you, it just makes you go to sleep. I smoked marijuana when I was in middle school, and I remember being high and that type of thing. And what is the chemical what happens to somebody when they take fentanyl? Do they just fall asleep? Do they kind of?
Well, I can tell you, no. I mean, it can. Look, I've had it also, medically administered. But from what I understand, the biggest deal is the euphoria, and then the highly addictive nature of it. Look, they're flooding right now. They are flooding the streets of Colorado. Whether you think this is just a crazy right-wing liberal crazy non-liberal radio station, it's not. This is the truth. They're flooding the streets of Colorado with fentanyl. They continue to. They will start by giving it away for free because it's that highly addictive. And if you can picture the tip, guys, picture the tip of a sharpened pencil from back in third grade.
Yeah.
And then picture like a couple of grains of salt. That is how much will kill you.
Yeah.
Why? Well, we got a few text messages here. Do you know which neighborhoods cartels are operating out of?
All of them. Assume all of them. And that's not a joke.
Really? Jeez.
Trust me, I know a little bit more than like this time last year. I thought I knew a lot about fentanyl. Now, where I am now, I certainly know a hell of a lot more and what's going on. And I know for some guys, listening to me, they're like, there he goes again. I thought I'd heard the last of him on this station. There he goes again. He's exaggerating. You must assume that there is not a school, a university, a nightclub, a dive bar that is, and the other thing, guys, it's everywhere. And it's not one of the things that it's out here in the suburbs, because you don't have to go to Denver and Decay on a Sunday morning at 3 a.m. on a dark corner with a tent sitting there and go buy it. Their kids are buying this stuff. If your child has a cell phone, they have access potentially to getting this poison, and they could probably get it within the next couple of hours.
They probably could get it. Yeah. School, parks, malls, anywhere. They can do the deal in the bathroom at the
Chick-fil-A
school.
parking lot. I mean, fast food parking lots. It's happening. I want to just go ahead.
We're talking with Steffan Tubbs. He's the filmmaker of a new movie out called Devastated, and it hasn't been released yet. The trailer has been released. Now, Steffan, I'm not a big fan of necessarily putting heads on pikes, but there are a certain level of crime where I'm like, we need to send a message. We need to send a really big message. And you remember that picture down in that Central American country where they lined up all the guys that they had arrested, and they're all down on their knees and their heads are down. And the leaders of the community are like, this is how we treat our criminals now. We are going to make your life absolutely miserable for what you're doing to our community. Why don't our city, state, federal leaders start putting heads on pikes with regards to these drug dealers that are literally killing our kids?
Jeff, it is the billions of dollars of question, right? I mean, it's why I'm talking again as Steffan Tubbs, Coloradan. Why are we still year after year? I mean, Representative Mike Lynch has a bill out right now, and I don't know the language specifically, but it's another incredibly, on paper, incredibly powerful bill against fentanyl and users and dealers, not necessarily users. It's the dealers and the distributors, et cetera. Where's that going to go in the legislature that's controlled the way it is? I mean, good luck, but this is not a political deal. But one of the things, I just want to make sure, and I know your time is limited, but I just want to say one of the primary driver is to tell these parents stories, to make sure that they they can try to, with their own words, right, let other families know you don't want to be me. You'd rather have the talk about fentanyl and a difficult conversation with anybody in your family. You'd rather do that than have to plan their funeral. Yeah. Trust me, you would. Oh, but the reason, one of the other ulterior motives that we want to do is to wake people up in this state and go, look, we're not going to solve it all. You can't police your way out of it. You can't legislate your way out of it, but you can certainly have people become more aware. And let's do something with these elected officials. Let's do something to not make it so easy on these cartel-based, flat out. The cartel is murdering Coloradans every day, and who's talking about it?
We're talking with Steffan Tubbs, filmmaker, former host here on 710 KNUS of the film Devastated. The trailer's out, and you can go get it on his YouTube channel or go to his X page. I'm going to ask you the Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump question. Steffan, you're taking on cartels. Are you worried about your own personal safety?
No. I mean, and I don't say that to be flippant. I mean, it's just, you know what? I mean, Jeff, you've done this. Bill, you've done this. You stand for something that you believe in. You want to do what you can in the time that you have on this planet. And I tell you, I could not. It's one of the reasons I left KNUS. God called, and you better answer and you better listen, in my opinion. And I did. And how can you just sit back? That's why I don't understand Republicans, Democrats. I don't care. How do you fight about the things you fight about when there are other things that are so much more important? And you know what we need too is, even in Colorado, our influencers, athletes, entertainers, whatever, news people. Don't just tell me you're carrying Narcan in your pocket. What else are you doing? What are you doing? Are you pressuring people to make better decisions? One of those things where I'll leave you with this. One thing that already in the last couple of days of having this trailer released, I've had a lot of positive support. Thank you to you guys. Thank you to my home at KNUS. But I also get this feeling like people watching go, God, that really sucks for them. So glad that my family's perfect and we're not going to ever have that. 40% in a new poll this week, 40% of Americans who were polled know someone who has died of a drug overdose in this country. 4 out of every 10.
Wow. Yeah, I lost my best friend.
Scary. Wow. Now, Steffan, let's talk a little bit about, enforcement policies. You have, you haven't been on the front lines as far as, busting up the cartels, but you've seen the results and you've done the press. Talk to me about the difficulties that law enforcement and the DA is having controlling the fentanyl outbreak, controlling the crime. And what do you now? And then take off your hat and talk to us about personally, if Steffan Tubbs was allowed to change any way that we would go after the enforcement around drugs, what would you do? First DEA and then Steffan.
The big problem is, DEA is doing its work as best it can every day, right? Yeah. But DEA, as you know, FBI, the DOJ, the Denver Police Department, they do their job, but it's up to the prosecutors. It's up to the U.S. Attorney's Office, right? It's up to your local DA. It's up to the Deputy District Attorney. And how are they handcuffed, or how do they have their ability to do their jobs? It's through the laws.
That's good.
Well, who's writing the laws? Who's making the laws?
Yep.
I think that's probably, as I'm dancing on thin ice here.
You're doing so well.
I think that's probably
okay. Now let's take off your DEA hat, and then let's say that we put on our Steffan Tubbs, former talk show host and rabble rouser in KNUS,
and now King of Denver.
Yes, King of Denver. We give you the magic wand, sir. What is the most effective change in policy that in your opinion, and your opinion only, would dramatically make an impact on what we're seeing in the city?
All right, you ready? I got 2 words for you.
Yeah.
And they're not those 2.
Hit me.
zero tolerance.
Yeah.
Ooh, like that.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say.
Like that, man.
Because otherwise, I'm gonna find out later today that, you know what, that thing with Jeff and Bill, you're now fired. I hope they'll take you back weekends. 6 feet.
Yeah.
Steffan Tubbs, filmmaker of the new documentary Devastated. You can find it on his YouTube channel, Mountain Time Media. Go to Mountain Time Media or look him up on X. You'll find his the trailer there. This film will be coming out later this spring. But the trailer is a gut punch. You gotta go watch it. And Steffan, I'm so grateful you're taking the time to make this movie. Thank you for working so hard to make the city of Denver, the state of Colorado, we all love, a better place.
Yeah, appreciate it, my friend.
Guys, I miss you. Thank you for the time. And to be quite honest with you, I can't believe you guys have lasted this long. So congratulations.
Us either. We thought the Kelly was coming with some boxes today, honestly.
Well,
give Crowley a big hug for me down there, and Kelly and Michael and all the folks. I definitely miss the team down there. I miss my show occasionally. Also, Jeff, thanks for all the plugs. You can also go to the formerly Steffan Tubbs Show Facebook page and see the trailer there. But thank you for what you guys are doing. I greatly appreciate the time. And please, folks, friends listening, please go into this weekend thinking sooner rather than later you're going to talk to your family about fentanyl and the crisis, because you don't want to wait too much longer. The odds are it's going to be in a family circle or what have you. So I greatly appreciate the time, guys.
Thanks, Steffan. I mean, the message you got to say to your kids: never, ever, 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 ever take a pill because of the potential loss of life there. Imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-em-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-em-out shelves understands that every home's storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leave satisfied customers wherever they go, and their all 5-star reviews confirm this. Here's what some overjoyed customers have said. Joyce and Brent listened to our needs, stayed on schedule, and found solution to our specific problems. We're so happy with our kitchen that we're now planning to do our bathroom as well. The quality of the products are excellent. The quality of the labor installation is outstanding. The customer service is unsurpassed. I absolutely recommend Roll-em-out shelves. They are good listeners, and they have great suggestions for cabinetry solutions. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll-em-out shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today. 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them Jeff sent you. Rollemoutshelves.com. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS. Oh, this takes me back. So good.
Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Pharrell Williams.
Yeah, the Frenchman.
Lucky, huh?
Yeah, Daft Punk, the guys out of France that wear the helmets.
Yeah, that was
so good.
The helmets.
Yeah.
Hey, you remember that funeral director we were talking about that, was hiding bodies?
Oh, yeah.
And then he took off. They couldn't
disappeared.
find him. They found him late last night.
In a cemetery?
Right.
Doing research? What?
A funeral director whose rental property had a dead body stored in a hearse out back was on the run. They discovered the hearse and the cremains. Is that what they call it? Cremains of at least 30 people in a crawl space. They found him just after midnight. I think he might have been hiding back in that crawl space or somewhere close to it. Authorities brought Miles Hartford, 33, to the Arapahoe Detention Center after Inglewood police arrested him just before midnight Thursday. He took off. Oh, man. There are just bad life choices. If you find hey, Bill, as a little
yes,
word of advice, if you ever find yourself hiding bodies,
yeah, just in case,
and then get busted for it, and then take off running from it, and then get arrested and caught by the police while trying to flee from facing the consequences of improperly storing dead bodies, just take a moment, breathe in, and evaluate your life choices, man.
That's probably true. That's probably like, at one point, I like that idea. At what point do you think the funeral director was like, he's hiding in the crawl space. He's like, well, obviously things have not gone as planned.
Hiding with your own dead bodies.
Yeah, exactly.
In the crime. Oh, my goodness. Well,
awful.
Hey, when it comes to creating the perfect kitchen or bathroom countertop, it's all about understanding the client's needs and personal style. That's why communication is key. Mitch Floria is the master craftsman with the Art of Granite and works with his team of highly skilled craftsmen, each with their own unique expertise to help bring your vision to life. From single residential installations to large-scale projects, Mitch and his team at the Art of Granite will listen to you and get you what you need. Mitch provides granite, marble, quartz, and other materials from his own warehouse in Denver West at wholesale prices with no markup, so you can get the most for your budget. Mention KNUS and receive a bathroom countertop for free with the purchase of your fantastic new kitchen countertops, or get a kitchen and bathroom sink free with the purchase of any countertop package. Schedule a consultation with Mitch and visit his beautiful showroom in Denver West, or call Mitch at 303-386-5919, or you can visit his website at theartofgranite.com to start dreaming about your new countertops. That's theartofgranite.com. Why I love Mitch is I went and visited, beautiful showroom, by the way, but the man really loves America. So he came from Romania legally to this country, started out, built this company from scratch. He has framed Constitution Declaration of Independence right next to his desk. He's got a big American flag that hangs there in his office, and he's got a statue of a bald eagle. I mean, this guy loves America. It's partly why he advertises with 710 KNUS, because he knows you do as well. And I know as a conservative, you're going to put your money with people that love this country and share your values. So I'm a big proponent of The Art of Granite. So check them out, theartofgranite.com. Text messages coming in. Steffan is an amazing person. He talked about these issues for years. He had the courage to completely change the direction of his career to truly make a difference. If you missed that previously in the hour, we hosted Steffan Tubbs. The trailer for his new film is out. It's titled Devastated. And you can go to his Twitter account, SW Tubbs, and see the trailer there. The film will be out here shortly.
And we're going to go to the premiere. I'm going to drag you with me, sir. We're going to have to go. And
I've been to a number of premieres. I used to market a Jonas Brothers movie.
I have so many questions that we can't get into right now.
I know.
Now, this is this is the Disney days, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, this was like 2011.
Oh, man.
I was national field director in outreach to homeschool groups for the new Jonas Brothers.
That is interesting. I remember that movie. Oh, we're gonna have to talk about that at some point or another. That is really interesting. Holy crap! Now, the thing that got me with Steffan's trailer, I talked about it with you off air, is when we see the mother walking into the bedroom where she discovers her daughter dead. The emotion there. I'm gonna break up right now. Oh, it is devastating as a parent to think about that. It's just, I really hope that everybody out there gets a chance to see this, because this can be a way to connect emotionally. And see, again, I'm just going to fall apart because it's that hard.
I mentioned this with when Steffan was interviewed. I lost my best friend to a drug overdose when he was 20 years old. I was 20, and that hole just never goes away. So you will live the rest of your life with that pain.
Yeah.
You will live the rest of your loved ones will live the rest of their lives with that pain.
That emptiness.
It never goes away.
No, it doesn't.
You know, it's not like every day is horrible, but you just his name was Jared. I will never forget Jared.
Yeah,
best friend growing up.
My wife lost her younger brother in an accident. That pain never goes away. It wasn't a drug overdose, but it just was an accident, and that hole never gets filled.
Yeah,
I knew him very well, and it's hard.
We got to take this on more aggressively. Steffan and I, we were talking about this, and go back to listen to the podcast and check out the trailer. So glad, Steffan. I'm glad this station as well takes on these issues about the supervised injection sites and that type of stuff. There's got to be heads on pikes. At some point, we as a culture have just got to say, we're no longer allowing you to do this to our loved ones, to kids, those types of things, and we're going to make you pay as a result of it. Looks like we got some calls coming in. Feel free to give us a call, 303-696-1971, or give us a text. Guys, generally you hear talk about medicine and effective treatments for erectile dysfunction and other men's sexual health issues. Today, I want to talk to you about love. The one you love is the light of your life. And if you're like most men, you want to do whatever you can to nurture your relationship. But if you're suffering with ED, you know the impacts the condition is likely having on you and your partner. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and has successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Schedule a consult with Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic today. Your initial visit is only $99, and it includes a medical consult with a licensed medical provider, a T and PSA test, and if you're medically advised, a test dose, all right there. And if the test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. They have 5 locations in Colorado: Fort Collins, North Denver, Central Denver, Castle Rock, and Colorado Springs. Stop dealing with the lack of confidence that ED brings. Call them today, 720-440-7900, 720-440-7900, or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com.
Yeah, the caller had an issue with the app, and so we just kind of talked.
Okay, there you go.
Sometimes yes, we even do IT on the air.
Speaking of this good show upcoming this weekend, Peter Boyles is going to have the Palestinians in studio tomorrow morning for his show.
That'll be
want to mix that.
That was fire last time. Just, I know I'm not taking opinion on it, but I'm just talking about the conversation. Generated a lot of other conversations, and I think it says a lot about Pete bringing the Palestinians into the studio to have the conversation with them about what is happening, because it is a very, very difficult line, because oftentimes Hamas and the Palestinians are lumped into the same group. Right. And unfortunately, in any sort of a military activity, the citizens are going to be collateral. And this is no different. And it's hard. And I do not believe in my heart that Israel is targeting the Palestinian population. But in war, things are messy, and sometimes you use a hammer, and times that in retrospect you don't have to. But war. And the part that I keep coming back to is that at the core, the original attack that started this, not the original events, we're not talking about that, we're talking about the attack that happened recently. The issue I have is they did not target military targets. They specifically went after citizens.
Women and children.
Then I have a problem. If your first goal when you're going to have an attack, a response, whatever, if you think you are justified in the response, but that response is targeted to citizens, you lose your moral advantage. You lose the moral efficacy of saying we have been wronged. We talk
agree with you entirely. Peter Boyle's show tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So he'll have the Palestinians. You're not going to want to miss that. Hey, imagine effortlessly gliding over your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll them out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll 'em Out Shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leave satisfied customers wherever they go, and their all 5-star reviews confirm this. We're so happy with our kitchen that we're now planning to do our bathroom as well. Here's another one. The quality of products are excellent. The quality of labor installation is outstanding. The customer service is unsurpassed. I absolutely recommend Roll 'em Out Shelves. They are very good listeners, and they have great suggestions for cabinetry solutions. This is a top-notch company. Excellent product, excellent service and installation. We had shelves installed in the laundry room and kitchen. Makes a world of difference in accessing items. I highly recommend them. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll 'em Out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them Jeff sent you, rollemoutshelves.com. We'll get to your questions in just a second. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. Almost half of Japanese companies believe another Donald Trump presidency would be a risk to business. A majority of the businesses polled say the former president's protectionist policies are a concern. Chris Gilbert reports from Tokyo.
Donald Trump has rattled business confidence here in Japan with comments earlier this month that if he was to once again win the White House, he would block Nippon Steel's $14 billion acquisition of U.S. steel. And these sentiments are what have Japanese firms worried, 49% saying that they believe another Trump presidency could be a risk to business. Well, some businesses here even saying they are already planning contingency strategies in case Trump once again wins the White House. Chris Gilbert.
The United States has once again landed on the moon. An unmanned spacecraft launched by Texas-based Intuitive Machines landed on the moon's south pole late on Thursday. It's the first time in 50 years that any U.S. spaceship has touched down on Earth's satellite, and the very first lunar landing conducted by a private company. Intuitive Machines says landing on the moon is only part of the mission, and that it now hopes to conduct experiments in space. The next human moon landing is expected towards the end of this decade. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
It's been a wild show. If you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com, download the podcast, watch us on YouTube. All the socials are there. The city of Denver needs some help.
And we're here.
Small businesses are leaving. So, be careful. And then check out Steffan Tubbs' new documentary. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.